Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today. Lovely Friday evening, and it's beautiful to be here. Thank you very much for being here with us today. Before we get started, like we always do, I'd like to appreciate everyone who is helping to push the live, particularly those who are part-tapping on TikTok at the moment. We have 36.4k likes now, but it's because of people like Akadol, Koboko, Happy71, Ibo Chinodu, Titan, and every other person I'm not to read at the moment, but thank you very much for your support. God bless. Okay, thank you very much for your support. Thank you for power tapping on TikTok. I really do appreciate it. If you're on TikTok, please let's power tap, like the live, and also share with others, right? So we can get the live on the FYP. Also, click on the outside corner above me here to join the team. Let's drop heart me's. Let's drop gifts so we can push the live to the FYP together. For folks on YouTube and on Facebook, thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much. I speak a bit fast, so yeah, you can like by double tapping your screen. Voila, you have liked the live. So please let's do that. Let's push the live to the FYP together. Right, if you're on Facebook, we're glad you're here as well. Please like the live and share. We're going to have Twitter come online in the next 1 minute or so, and then we'll be able to tell them to also repost. Okay. So today is Friday. Thank God it's Friday. And we're going to be looking at some of the news making the rounds. And then we will finish up what we started yesterday. Hopefully we can finish today. Oh, thank you. I saw a super fan on TikTok. Thank you very much for your gift. On to the person. All right. Thank you, Akadol, for the gifts. Thank you for the art me grok. Thank you. Okay. So let's check YouTube to be sure we're good, and then we can get started right away. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day. And Igbola Bruce Rawa Olagbara long. Ìrọ̀yọ̀lá máa gbọ́. Ní àwùjọ àwọn olódodo. Since that it's very short, so I might as well just wait till we play it before we talk about it. And also the issue with NYSC uniform, which I believe is a pointer to a real conversation we should have in Nigeria. NYSC, the old Khaki, Adire thing, you know, people went to town, just sell kind of things, and is making even the presidency put out a particular statement, which we're going to also look at today. And the fake DG we mentioned yesterday, well, it's still kicking. Apparently, it's not going to go down without fighting, which is quite weird. But we'll listen to his own take later today, and then we will also discuss some happenings in South Africa. Some South Africans, some Nigerians in South Africa, you know, have been repatriated, and there are also certain things that we should hear about it. And then on a lighter note, probably some comedy from the presidential dinner that was held yesterday. All right, now that we're good, again, please like the live, share. Let's keep the live going. Let's do this together. It's Friday, so we shall end with a bang. Logic Vector, let me ask you a question. What is it? Why? Every time we talk about people being repatriated from South Africa, you always say you support. Let me read what she wrote. We support South Africa 100%. So I have a question for you, sir. Even though I don't know, I think you're a man. Why? That's my question. If you don't mind answering, I would gladly read response. So why are you always standing with South Africa? Why can't you just be your brother's keeper? Since we're all Nigerians, By the way, Yoruba náà wà lára àwọn tán wálé o. All right. So let's begin with this stuff from the president and some of the things that went down at the dinner yesterday. I'm sure you must have heard of the phrase Alakara. Apparently, that's the First Lady's new title. So let us begin. Excuse me. All right. Koboko says Yoruba left South Africa by choice. Oshe. Logic says it's because of Igbos. Masinu, Masikun. So when you say Yoruba people left South Africa by choice, are you saying that? You know what you are saying, Sha, but let me just leave you alone. Igbo Jinadu says, when the guilty suffer, the innocent may partake. At least you're a bit more compassionate. Logic Vector does not send anybody. It just says that we support South Africa. Anyway, let's get started with today's show. And I hope that we have enough time to finish up with the document we started reading yesterday about Yorubas in diaspora, focusing on Yoruba communities in the northern part of Nigeria. And I think that would be a good thing to finish this session with. But let's begin with the presidential dinner. I think it was with the press corps. The presidential press corps dinner that held yesterday. Let's take a listen to the president of the Federation, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Take a listen, please. One second, please. There's a little. All right, take a listen, please. It is well. Let's go.
Gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen, my dear wife, the First Lady, Alakara.
All right, that was the president. Of course, you heard him speak. Before I continue with the rest of this event, I'd like you to listen to the Alakara herself, where she was launching National Community Food Bank Program, Northwest Zone. By the way, I like the way President Tinubu is handling these things. I like when you can laugh at yourself and laugh at issues and not, turn into something else. If certain people are dumb enough to think that selling Akara is below them or beneath them, then those who are able to take advantage of it, of course, continue to take advantage of the goodwill of the First Lady. But beyond Akara, which is good on its own, she has also launched National Community Food Bank Program. I'd like to take a listen to the First Lady, Senator Remi Tinubu, and I think it was in Jigawa. Take a listen, please.
We have extended this journey to be 2-day journey. It's such a packed activity. So, salamu alaikum, Joma. Sanu. The governor of Jigawa State, His Excellency Dr. Malam Umar A. Namadi, FCA, and his beautiful wife, the First Lady of Jigawa State, Her Excellency Hajia Adiza Umar Namadi. The governor of the Northwest States, led by the leader of the Northwest Governors Forum, His Excellency Diko Maru Rada. So I use him to celebrate the governors of Kaduna State, Kano State, Kebbi State, Sokoto State, and Zamfara State. So I'd like to just briefly, because I know you all have to go. It's been a long day for all of you. The Deputy Governor of Jigawa State and Chairman Organizing Committee for this visit, His Excellency Engineer Mino Usman, FNSE, the Honorable Speaker, Jigawa State House of Assembly, and the ministers that are here. I know the Coordinating Minister of Health here is ably represented by Dr. Muyi Aino. But I'd like to particularly thank the Honorable Minister for State, for Education, Professor Suweba Said Ahmad. Thank you so much, and your darling sister, the Honorable Minister of State for the FCT, Dr. Maria Mahmoud Bonkure. Thank you all so much for all your support and love. The Chairman Bank of Industry and the Bank of Agriculture. We have launched the National Community Food Bank Trust Fund and inaugurated the Board of Trustees in Abuja on the 2nd April 2026. On 27th April 2026, we conducted the first launch in Borno State for the Northeast Zone. And today, by the grace of God, we are launching the second National Community Food Bank here in Jigawa State for the Northwest Zone. Afterwards, other zones will follow simultaneously. I commend the government and the people of Borno State for their swift implementation of the National Community Food Bank Program, which has already enrolled 560 beneficiaries and reached 468 vulnerable children, pregnant women, and lactating mothers in less than 2 months. This impressive achievement gives me confidence that Jigawa State will set even higher standards for others to follow. The choice of Jigawa State for the Northwest launch is strategic. Jigawa is an agrarian state with immense agricultural potential and a strong commitment to improving the well-being of its people. The success of this program will depend on sustained collaboration. We must work together to build a transparent, accountable, and efficient food bank system that reaches vulnerable households across Nigeria. I therefore call on individuals, organizations, institutions, and development partners across the Northwest Zone to support and actively participate in this initiative as we continue its nationwide rollout. Let me at this juncture specially commend the Governor of Jigawa State, His Excellency Malam Umaru Namadi, CON.
All right. Thank you very much for speaking to us, the First Lady, Mrs. Remi Tinubu. So that's a laudable project. It's quite nice that, it's of course the First Lady. But back to the press dinner that I mentioned, that the presidential press corps dinner, the president was there in person. Of course, that was where he read the stuff we heard earlier. We're not going to listen to all the things he had to say. I just wanted to pick out the Alakara for some reason. But I also want to, on a lighter note, I want us to listen to the MC of the event, that's Sheyi Law. then once we're done with this, we then go into some serious.
Mr. President, you know.
Wait, I just want to be sure. Sharing Bodada, is it clear without having to move the mic? Can you hear it? Well, thank you very much for the gift, Dan. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. So can you hear Sharing Bon also? Is it loud enough? That's what I want to know before we go on. Like the stuff you're listening to. If you don't mind, please help me in the comment section so I will know exactly how to proceed. Okay, I assume that people are here. I can't hear because if not, people have said something. So take a listen to this.
Mr. President, you floated the exchange rate and then you stopped fuel subsidy. You came up with different reform. You shocked the opposition, and one of them said that the problem of foreign exchange is foreign exchange. It's not their fault. They don't have anything to talk about. Mr. President, you have eyes for sporting talents, and you went as far as the interior of Ondo State at a place called Okeagbe, and you spotted a young man, His Excellency Honorable Olubunmi Ojo, and you made him the Minister of Interior. And for the first time in this country, we knew that the office of the Minister of Interior is not just to announce public holiday. When one man was there that they called Baba half salary, sorry. We only get to see him when he wants to announce public holiday, Mr. President. You know, the Ministry of Interior has transformed quite a whole lot in the nation. We now have e-gates at our airports. We now see that there is serious prison reform. Mr. President, before your administration, we had over 20 prison jailbreak. But since Honorable Bumituji Ojo was appointed, we've never heard anything of such. I think it deserves a big round of applause. Mr. President, during your administration, prisoners are now graduating and they are earning PhD from prison. This is due to prison reform in your administration. Mr. President, we now have the mining marshals, you know, courtesy of the Nigeria Civil Defense. These are your works. Please can we applaud Mr. President? Honorable Bumituji Ojo is the star boy of your administration, and I'm from Ondo State, and I'm very proud. I think Honorable Bumituji Ojo deserves a round of applause too. Mr. President.
That was Shaylo talking about Bumituji Ojo, and to be honest, he's doing a fantastic, job being the Minister of Interior. But another minister who is also doing well and who I think people are also, taking note of his work is the Minister of Aviation, Festus Keyamo. And it was on TVC News Politics Tonight, where they had conversations about, the aviation industry and also the chances of President Tinubu the chances of being, voted in for his second term. And this is what Festus Keyamo had to say. Please take a listen to this.
Talk about 2027 elections. We're rounding off at the moment. Some might just admire President Tinubu's political brilliance, but also they're questioning whether, he has connected emotionally with citizens during this period of hardship. From your own perspective, you're a member of this cabinet. Has the president done enough to reassure ordinary Nigerians?
The president has done more than enough. However, it is this, let me just be clear about this. In the season of politics, nobody listens to reason again because people just want to get to power at all costs. So even if I make a valid point here, people will make comedy and skits out of it, they'll make memes out of it tomorrow and all that because they just want to rubbish everything, that is going on. The other day, the First Lady, how much do you want the government and, of course, the First Lady, who is like the mother of the nation, to connect with Nigerians, to empathetically connect, more than trying to help petty traders? And then she talked about something affecting petty traders. Everybody went on fire. And I started laughing because it was just so comical. They were making skits out of it, making comedy out of it, making on very, sometimes misplaced anger out of it. The people who, the First Lady said yesterday also, the people who she is referring to and her target audience, they appreciate her. That's enough for us. The people who we are connecting with, they appreciate us. It's enough for us. If the elites who think that the president should the First Lady should distribute laptops to market women who are selling pepper, they should continue to talk. On that day, when that market woman who is selling akara and selling vegetable, she's pressing APC. You should be pressing your laptop. We'll be pressing your laptop. So we are not concerned about all the noise, like you said. We're not. The government is connecting with those it wants to connect with. Okay, so you are quickly bringing succor. No, government is not saying that this is what you give them forever. Government is not saying that it is this kind of rice you use to feed Nigerians forever. It's just a stopgap measure to ensure that you still bring palliatives into the system. Even the biggest countries they look at, America, after COVID, they were bringing cash, small cash, door to door. Ask anybody in America and Europe. Government was delivering cash to doorsteps, small cash for people not to get so despondent and angry. They were giving cash door to door to their citizens. Go and ask. So they should make skits and all that out of what I'm saying. It doesn't concern us. On that day of voting, those people who appreciate government, just wait and see. They should not complain. Recently we saw results 2 weeks ago. And you give me some credit. I have been spokesperson back to back, 2 governments, 2 presidents, and I can tell you the demography of Nigeria. So give me that credit. Nobody holds that record but myself.
Why do you think?
I understand the way voting patterns are going. And so wait and see. Let them be doing skits and all that with votes coming.
But Mr. Keyamo, why do you think programs targeted at low-income traders generate so much political backlash? And I'm also particularly concerned.
It is politics. There's nothing generating it. It's not generating. They are generating it within themselves.
I'm very concerned about opposition figures who have mocked this idea of supporting Akara sellers and petty traders. What should this tell Nigerians?
They know. Look, my sister, listen. No need to argue here. They know what the First Lady said. They know what we are saying. They understand the empathy. They understand the importance of that. They are just deceiving ordinary people. That is all they are doing. They understand the importance of bringing palliatives, of small traders, and giving money to small traders and all of that. They know, they understand one question. They should answer Nigerians. They say these days of high tech, do you want to give laptop to market woman selling tomatoes? Or do you want to give laptop to the person to do what? Those ones should be left to undergraduates. And then NYSC is taking care of that. There is also an aspect of government that is giving laptops to schools, to young graduates, that is killing them off. There is also an aspect of government of doing that.
All right, then.
So there are different strata of society, and when there is different strata of society, you must address each strata according to its own need. Have you seen a society that there's equilibrium in all strata, that there's nobody at all, there is no middle class, upper middle class, and high class? Have you seen one society? Address each one and try to lift each one out of its own. That's really the whole importance of the whole the purpose of government. Not to tell me that there is nobody at all that does not need support of 200,000, 100,000 to live their trade. Don't tell me that.
All right, Mr. Keyamo, before I let you go tonight, what has the opposition gotten wrong about President Tinubu's reforms? Also, can APC win 2027 on performance alone?
Let me tell you, like I told you, I have that record. Others have led and failed. I have not. So I will tell you that 2027, as it is today now, there's only one person who has the possibility to win, and that's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I'm being honest, not because I'm APC, but I'm just being realistic. They know, we know, they are just trying their luck, but they know that it is an almost impossible task. So long as God gives long life and good health to the president. We are looking at a coronation, not an election. It's a coronation.
That's an interesting take. It says we're looking at a coronation, talking about 2027. We're looking at a coronation, not an election. I mean, I probably wouldn't put it that way, but it's very clear that the president has, I mean, looks like to me, he has that on lockdown. He's going to win. And yeah.
Feel it. At the beginning of the administration, it was hard the way you approached the reform. But I am glad tonight that you give credit to that reform. You nearly stopped me from reading then. But I had to summon courage that as one of you in the saddles, I must read you, I must hear you, I must feel you. And I read you every morning, sincerely, ever since then. Some of our founding fathers were journalists. They established the newspapers to fight the cause of our independence and to shape the course of our nation. Let me assure you that my administration remains committed to ensuring that you have access and the resources and freedom to your job excellently and in accordance with the Constitution. I thank you very much.
Obviously, that was towards the end of his speech. I mean, that was the end of his speech, but he had said something before then where he tried to enjoin.
But next time I bring you to this hall, I won't put you on those corners where you can serve yourself a good meal. We will go there together. I have learned to respect the scrutiny and questions, even as I ask the media to always do its own work. You must do your own work. Provide context and help citizens understand not just what has changed, but to where we are headed. We live in an era where misinformation can travel faster than the facts. The media must choose fact over falsehood, substance over sensation, and credibility over clickbait. Our country depends on professional journalists who separate facts from fiction and truth from speculation. In a world where anyone with a smartphone can claim to be a journalist, the standard of professionalism, accuracy, and integrity must never be compromised. Freedom of expression and responsibility. Nigeria has enacted laws, including the Cyber Crimes Act, to protect citizens from malicious falsehood, cyber stalking, identity theft, and other digital abuses. These laws are not meant to weaken the press freedom we preach, but to protect our citizens and the integrity of our information ecosystem. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Nigeria is undergoing one of the most ambitious periods of reform in our history. The difficult but necessary steps we have taken are already yielding results. Our economy is stabilizing, no doubt about that. Public revenues are strengthening. State governments are receiving greater allocation right now. They must do your roads, they must provide water, and investors' confidence has returned to our country. Blue chips, great economies are seeking us out. Our foreign reserves have improved, rising above 50 billion US dollars, a 17-year record.
All right, that was the President Bola Tinubu, at the presidential press corps dinner, and fantastic, speech, fantastic conversations they had yesterday. And of course, since he was talking to journalists and press people, he mentioned the importance of professionalism and why they should, having some 1 second. Great. Why they should prioritize information, right? And what's the word he used? Is this what he usually was saying something before clickbait? Anyway, the idea basically is that don't spread misinformation and falsehood in the name of, press freedom. If there's anybody who understands that, that would be the publisher of Sahara Reporters. I may be distracted because of Twitter, and I apologize for that. I'll fix that later. If anybody understands what the president was trying to say, I believe that would be the publisher of Sahara Reporters, Omoyele Sowore. He was on Arise News recently, where he talked about the limitations to freedom of expression, and how things should be regulated by the law. Take a listen to this.
Also cybercrime. When we got that.
1 second. Again, a lot of things there's so many moving parts. I'm trying to put everything at the same time. So please bear with me.
Almost the same time. This last appearance. So
does it get a bit confusing? Like, which one is it today?
Yeah. In fact, I found out when we got that we have a second case, and it became a big argument between me and the prison warders that brought me from Kuje, who said you can't leave to go to the second one. I said, well, I have to make an appearance because they're both criminal trials, and if I don't show up in the next court case, which is 3 seconds away, they might revoke my bail on that one and have you guys take me back to jail for.
And what was that one about?
It was also cybercrime.
Right.
Allegation that was brought against me in 2022 by now former senator, I guess, or just Senator Ned Nwoko, who had accused me of saying that because there was mosquitoes in his compound, he was doing fraud by trying to eradicate mosquito on the continent of Africa. Mosquitoes on the continent of Africa.
Right.
Yes.
Well, I mean, some Nigerians who support your right to criticize the government being responsible.
If the law says you can speak truthfully to power, nobody should have the right to prevent you from expressing yourself. That's why it's called the rule of law.
But there's a counter law that is cybercrime law.
No, the cybercrime law, as amended by the Tinubu regime, also made it very clear that an individual cannot use the law to oppress another person simply because the person says something you don't like. That is what the amendment says. That only in circumstances where your statements has led to the breakdown of law and order, is capable of breaking down law and order, would you then be brought in to explain yourself. But don't forget that there has to be a trial, an unfettered, fair, and you are seen not to shame me without conviction. That's what they did in 2019 when they accused me of jail for
killing your brother.
when my brother was assassinated on his way back from school in Edo State. He was studying pharmacy at the age of 49. He was shot point blank on a highway, and nobody ever could explain who killed him. That's what I mean by killing. He was assassinated.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that it's the authorities who
But it
did it.
also-
I mean, Nigeria is a fairly,
No,
people
if-
carry
if-
guns and people have,
if
guns for hire.
if somebody get killed at a police checkpoint and the police disappears after that, or they disappear before the killing and then reappear after the killing, and can't point to who killed that person and the person is Showere's brother, I would weigh heavily on the side of assassination as opposed to just a happenstance.
So that was Wele Showore, and in principle, I agree with his sentiments that the idea of the limitation of freedom of expression should not be based on the whims and caprices of the people in power, because if that's what it's about, then you're making a mockery of the rule of law. I understand that. However, that doesn't change the fact that the person who is exercising his freedom of expression also has a duty and a responsibility to ensure that what they are communicating is true. You can't be saying people are, this and that and just saying whatever you like without being able to back up your statements. And I think that's why people say things like where your freedom ends or where your right ends is where another person's right begins. So I think we have to find that balance. You should be able to say whatever you want to say. However, like Olamide said, freedom of speech is let me say the exact way he said it. He said freedom of speech there, I no go dull you. But freedom of that speech, I can't assure you. So apparently you have to be very careful how you exercise your freedom of speech so that you can have freedom after speech. All right. And that's that. All right, I hope it's better now. Okay. So moving away from, you can hear us. Oh, okay. So that means is that particular person. Thank you very much. So moving away from Showore and that bit about freedom of expression, I want us to spend some time revisiting a conversation we had yesterday, which had to do with road construction. And that the Minister of Works, some that a lot of people have taken to mean something on social media, and they've said all kinds of things about his work. And I believe that he's one of the ministers who are doing, serious.
By shorting me, be very objective. Be very, very objective. I've been a party chairman, I've been deputy governor, I've been governor, I've been senator, I've been minister. Then put the credential of your principal, and then put the credential of your principal, and then let us see what I did when I was governor of Ebola on you.
1 second, please.
I watched the beautiful work that my sister Ojo is doing in her right. And so I watched them talk about our program yesterday. And number one, somebody in the social media was saying that I was calling my brother, His Excellency P2B, for a debate. That is, I'm not a presidential candidate. This man was a governor, I was the governor. And the members had gone through where we are working. And they would call me and say, you people are getting this right. And I expected him to do so. Because we are doing what he did not do. When he was governor of Anambra State, for how many years, nobody could spend less than 7 hours to travel from Enugu to Onitsha. But today, you do it under 1 hour because President Bola Tinubu is fixed. The four legacy projects will be completed. I'm not sure that Southeast will continue to be integrated in the affairs of the nation. So I am on ballot. And if you insult the president, I will take see what I did when I was governor of Ebonyi State and what he did. So you have no right to insult me. But if you must insult me, insult me constructively. Not be so. But if you call on president, I will call on you. When our first lady, our mother of the nation, was trying to encourage the youths, and she was talking about the things, because we must change our work attitude. Everybody must be working like in China. To retake our country, everybody must be working. Everybody must have something to do. My mother was selling Alakara. My mother was a farmer. My father was a farmer. But it doesn't necessarily mean that having used that to train me, that, I will continue to farm at their scale. I will continue to sell Alakara at their scale. Why do we make, joke of every genuine advice? Will everybody be a banker at the same time? Will everybody be obedient movement at the same time? No. So let us, be serious, for once. This is very important. And my good friend of Arise, and people were selling off their land because of flood, at the beachfront. I know the one bank, is it Merchant Bank, that was, submerged. Many houses were submerged. People hurriedly sold until the audacity of one man, the great dreamer and the actualizer, by God's special grace, President Bola Tinubu. And so when you talk about flooding in Lagos, and he said because of the coastal road, you are darkening council without knowledge. We are going to Lagos with our headmaster, the National Assembly Works Committee, and we are going to see what we can do to help Lagos state government to solve the flood problem. But it's not caused by the coastal road at all. In fact, the coastal road is being raised to bridge the gap so that the water from the ocean will not cross over to communities and estates. So I want to teach Rufai that information. This is very important. If you tackle my profession, I will answer you. If you go and stop where we have concession the road, 125 kilometers from Benin to Asaba, it's under concession, it's under PPP. And so you just see a section that's going to... By the way, did we destroy all these roads we are fixing? Will be fixed once. But if of the country, but don't give me continuous roads of states to do. Of course, we've been doing a lot. But if you tell us, will we go and do it?
All right, that was the Minister of Works, Engineer David Umai. I'm just going to read some of the comments here. Essentially says, probably work ethic needs to be taught in schools. Well, I think she was referring to what we're saying about the Alakara. I think it's not something to actually play around with. But then, we're in Nigeria. She also said flooding has always been part of Lagos issues since the mid-70s. And yeah, I hope that the government also keeps doing what they can to, oh dear Lord. 1 second, please. What connection here? Sorry about that. Slight issue. Fixed now. So I was saying that Yes, what you were talking about, the fact that there's flooding in Lagos. We're hoping, of course, that things get better. That the government also does what they can to ensure that such. I mean, if there's some kind of blockage or people are built on canals, I think it's important for the government to do what they have to do, remove them down further. People can cry, but that's okay. And also those who are constituting nuisance, just building waterways, just doing all kind of nonsense. People should stop it. But if they don't stop, government should keep like a further for conversation amongst people. Essentially, folks are going back and forth talking about the, should I say, importance or not, or the ridiculousness of the plans that he had. I don't consider that to be ridiculous, which of course is a product of a lot of work they're doing as far as NYSC reforms is concerned. They're trying to re-engineer the entire idea, right? So NYSC, for instance, now they want to have a civilian head rather than a military personnel at the helms of affairs. They're thinking of having more weeks in terms of orientation, and it's going to be devoted to entrepreneurship and training and skill acquisition and things like that. But there's a particular thing he said that has to do with the outfit. We all, for those of us who served, but we all wear khaki, or we all wore khaki and they still wear khaki. And he was talking about the need to change that and use locally sourced material, right? And so he mentioned Adire, and that became something else. But I want you to listen to what he had to say. Then I'm going to play some of the responses some of the reactions to that particular statement that he made. Take a listen to the Minister of Youth Development, Ayodele Olawande.
It's not even about the uniform. It's not even about the uniform. It's not even about the this thing. It's not even about that. It's about, we have 70% of Nigerians that are young people. For the past 2-3 years now, going to 3 years, university has been running without. Right. And that's the question.
Yeah, Minister, we have 30 seconds more. So 2 questions you can answer in 30 seconds. When are we expecting this amendment to take place? So when is it kickstarting? And I hope the uniforms will be produced in Nigeria.
No, that is Ankara stuff. Or what was it? What was the name of this? That's why we're touching the economy. What's the name of Adire? If is Adire, so Adire is being produced in Nigeria. We have in Ogun, we have in Kwara, we have textile industry, Let's put up. So it's for me to go and prostrate to the National Assembly, prostrate to them, and tell them that, see, this is not something. It's something that you should treat like a state police. It's something that we should treat like other things so that you can put it. And we have a listening president. We have a president that listens to things. If you can be able to convince him better and how to see his own view about the economy. So we have that president that talks to us and listens to us. As for yesterday, I was still with him. And it's an engagement. And he's also ready to also help us. It's not going to be easy. No reform is going to be easy. Right. But it's a process that we need to start from somewhere.
All right, so the entire thing, it's not just about the uniform, apparently. There are many other things that are involved in the reforms. But this particular thing about Adire has now become what everybody, if I find, I'm going to play it for you, where, some, should I call them OAPs, we're discussing how that's not what is needed at the moment and so on and so forth. 1 second, please. Right, so that's not what Nigeria needs at the moment. We shouldn't be talking about Adire. And I guess, in my own estimate, I think that what people are complaining about is what they are guilty of. I'm looking for that video. That's why you see me a bit distracted. If I find it, I would like you to listen to it. So it gives you an idea what I want to say. But if I don't, I'll just read you some of the reports from some interesting citizens. This country, some people just like to be funny. Mumbo. Okay, sorry. I know what I'm looking for now. 1 second. I'm just going to read some of the reports here. We're going to find the video much later because it's taking a bit of time. I don't want to. Okay, let me play this one for you first of all, of a person asking if NYSC has outlived its purpose, and I'm going to come back to the Adire thing. Just give me a second. I'll find out thing for you. Take a listen to this.
Has NYSC outlived its time?
So I have had many opinions about the NYSC. For when it was set up, so in 1973, there was low trusts, low social cohesion, and Gowon at the time thought that we needed a program for young people, that's the next generation, to get to meet each other, go to each other's states and, meet themselves, live in the communities, etc. As a way to foster national unity. And so at that time it made a lot of sense, right? I don't know now, when we think about the 50 years on, I don't think that problem I was trying to solve is still there. Again, people could argue that we are still
there are a few places you and I have still not visited in Nigeria.
Yes. I mean, should the NYSC take us there? Or should we go by ourselves because of promotion of tourism and stuff like that? So, I mean, I don't know if I want to use government money to take people all around the country for tourism.
Especially at the time where we don't have the money, actually.
Especially at a time when we don't really have a lot of money, right? So I'd rather invest that in thinking about key growth sectors. People have said that, and this is something I also believe in, Nigeria needs a labor market assessment. We need an assessment that assesses our labor markets, look for where the gaps are, where are the sectors that can retain people, and what sectors we need a lot to train more people for. I mean, the UK did this recently. That's why they started to poach all the nurses across Africa and everywhere. I actually saw that in a couple of years, they're going to run out of nurses with more people retiring at the time, and they won't have anyone to care for the elderly. So they just came up with a very drastic plan. So I feel like we need something similar. And I think we need to rethink, again, the spending as well. We need to rethink how, so instead of the money we spend on the camp, perhaps maybe that money should be monetized and given to the young people as part of business grants, or perhaps spent on somebody that has started their business and just needs another step of something, or maybe used for something that builds the person's career so that they can work in a particular sector. But we maybe invested it more in the people versus the.
Well, I think the Lagos State government has some.
Right, that was folks on Nigerian Info discussing this whole thing. But what the government is doing right now is to reposition the scheme. And so they put something out like an infographic, and I want to just read a bit of it about how they're going to deploy using IT, and the state governments are going to be involved in investing in orientation camps, right? He talked about how there will be 6-week orientation program where you have civic education, leadership, career readiness, specialized training, and so on and so forth. And then, of course, talked about how it will be led by a civilian director general, supported by 3 executive directors, including security services, headed by a military or paramilitary officer. Talked about personal parade to become a graduation ceremony, and then the idea of NYSC uniform to be redesigned to be practical, professional, and proudly made in Nigeria while retaining the NYSC identity and logo. Now, when this was published, and of course, you heard the Minister of Youth Development mention it earlier, I thought it was just a benign thing. It's a product that's made in Nigeria, right? And we also were at Nigeria. The product is made in Nigeria, and the president is saying, or the minister is saying, we can use this, right, for, to make uniforms for our core members, because it's also something that is locally sourced. Now, that's what you would think if you're a sensible human being. But Nigeria is made up of all kinds of human beings. A number of people are not very sensible. So they went to town to talk about how that, in a way, is a form of bigotry. Right? That the idea of using Adire is Yoruba people trying to take over over Nigeria. Now, I want to read some comments before I tell you what I really think about these loud idiots. Many of them are very stupid. And I'm not saying you cannot criticize this. It's just that there's a reason, and we're going to get to it in a bit. I read you a few comments. Maybe I'll try not to mention their names because I already said they are stupid, because that's what they are. One said, Adire and Ankara can't be the uniform for NYSC members across the country. We are all not from the Southwest region. The current uniform is sexless, detribalized, and smart. NYSC is still one of the few programs that genuinely promotes national unity by exposing young Nigerians to different cultures, people, and ways of life, rather than focusing on cosmetic changes like scheme and investing in practical. When people use fabric from certain parts of Nigeria to do something, now let me start from the private sector, then I'll go to the public sector. So a while back, an airline owner decided to, create these beautiful designs for his airline. Now, to be fair, it's private, and he used Ishiagu. By the way, most of the people who are speaking against this uniform thing are Igbos. I don't know why. No, I know why. Let me not say I don't know. That would be a lie. It's pain, and it's never going to be healed. All right, it's pain, pure pain. They use Ishiagu for a design of this airline, the hostesses and beautiful stuff, right? It's beautiful. It's one of their own doings, and it looks good. But here's the thing: it's supposed to be a carrier that people are different people, different ethnicities use in Nigeria. People could have gone the route of, how come you are using one kidney? Are you not supposed to be serving the entire country? Why are you using something just that is Igbo? What I said in his defense at the time was that, listen, it's a private jet, and then every conversation they have from a prism of ethnicity. They are lying to you. They are the most, they are not just bigots. These are ethnic jingoists. These are folks whose entire identity depends on the ability to push their cultural, their views through cultural lens. And it's important to call them out. Let me say something. There's nothing wrong with having Adire as... I read some Yoruba people say things like, let them just leave Adire because, it's going to... Some clowns. Some Yoruba young... Some of us have internalized stupidity as well because of our proximity to stupidity. When you say things like, after all, we are Yoruba, but since it's Nigeria, let them use something that everybody can feel connected to. What kind of nonsense are you talking about? In 1977, there was Festac. The branding of Festac, let me ask you here right now, which ethnicity did that branding come from? Was it a Nigerian stuff, like all of us pitched in and you design a logo for Festac, or was it a particular ethnicity? And if you know the ethnicity, please write in the comment section. Festac 77 now. You remember the mask. If I mention the name of the mask, you know exactly where it is from. It's Queen Lydia. Whenever you think of Festac today, you see Queen Lydia mask. That's the mask that represented Festac. Do you have a problem with it as a Yoruba person? That it's from Benin. How can it be from Benin? Why can't they just take small from everybody everywhere in Nigeria and they create something so that we can say it is one Nigeria? It takes a person who is bereft of ideas to think that is in any way against the unity of Nigeria. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a representation. You can take something from here to represent the place, the entire country. Last regime, last tenure of last administration, when they were going to suggest the name, even though you can argue that, we can argue this one, but I'll tell you the one you can't argue. You can argue that, they didn't really consult anybody. Well, they're not consulting anybody anyway. When they were going to submit one, Nigerian representation, Nigerian, what's the word now? Nigerian's contribution to BRICS currency, in terms of when they were writing, the language, the currency in different languages. The one for Nigeria is in Hausa. Now you can say, why did they use Hausa and all of that? But the point is that they're trying to do something apart from the English language that everybody uses, right? Now you can controvert that and say, we can always change that because it doesn't represent all of us. How about the fact that the logo of Nigerian Army still bears Ajami inscription today? And I can assure you the Ajami inscription was put there because of the Hausa people. Whenever you hold your Naira notes and you see something that looks like Arabic, it's not Arabic, by the way. It looks like Arabic, but it's not Arabic. It's Ajami. And what you are reading is actually Hausa. So, very quick, I'm sure you know, some of you, many of you will definitely know this, but just in case we have one or two people who don't know, let me explain. You see, every time we write, look at the screen right now, daily ranking, whatever you can see on the screen right now, that's Latin script. Okay? But what you are seeing there is written in English, not in Latin. The script is Latin, but the language is English. This same script is what we use in writing Yoruba. So if I write Adire, that is Latin script, but the language is Yoruba. Right? Now, before colonization, Ajami was used by Hausa and also Yoruba people to write their own native language. So it's a script that was essentially developed based on the Arabic script, but used to write local languages. So the same way you can use Latin scripts to write English and write Yoruba, you can also use Ajami script to write Hausa and English. Oh, sorry, even English, any language, right? You can use that script to write anything. But we have documents from before colonization that were written in Ajami, just like the Hausa as well. Now, because Hausa people did not embrace Western education very early enough, they were still holding on to both Islamic education and in some cases Arabic education, and they could read Ajami, right? So you write your own like 20 naira, or let's say 10 naira, for instance, 10 naira. They will write it like this. This is Gomo, right? And that's why, a lot of people were saying, why is there Arabic on the script? It's not Arabic. It's actually Ajami. Sorry. It's Hausa written Ajami script. Why did we allow that? Because we understood that in that particular part of Nigeria, many of them could read in Ajami rather than in Latin script. Over time, things have changed. And that is why by the time Jonathan became president, there was a policy to write out the value of the currency in the three major languages apart from English language, in the three major Nigerian languages, but using Latin script. So you see something like Naira Mewa, 10 Naira, Naira Mewa, what is 10 in Igbo? Iri, Naira Iri. Then you see Naira Goma for Hausa. Because now, at least many of them can now read in Latin script. But in the beginning, you could just write Ajami. Now, why did I say all this to Renchi? If you can have Queen Idia, a Nigerian, it wasn't just a Nigerian, it was something that the whole world came to, black people over the world came to celebrate, right? What on earth makes Adire something that you are afraid of as a Nigerian? If it's not that you are inferior and you don't have sense. Because a lot of people in Nigeria many of us have sense in Jesus' name. Many people don't have sense. Because everything, and these are the people that will be telling you that, we're all in Lagos. All of these places we own together. We have been in Lagos for King. There's the appreciation for something that comes from other places to represent your country even makes you feel sad because you are perpetually going to change this thing. I mean, the federal government even put out a report. I mean, they're going to change it. But if a Yoruba person, number one, don't be joining these clowns and be saying things like, let's make it one Nigeria. What do you mean making it one? Okay, what is Nigerian uniform? When you guys were copying Yoruba wedding, was it a Nigerian wedding? Whenever you go out in the world and you hear Yoruba wedding, what do you think they're talking about? I'm going to have my wedding. I'm going to wear a gele to my wedding. That thing. Where do you think they're going? Many of the things it's just that I prefer the soft power, personally, because that one they're colonized without you even having to lift a finger. They will sing your song. They will sing songs in your language. I will say it right now. They'll sing songs in your language. They wear designs made by your own designers. They'll have weddings themed according to Yoruba customs and traditions, and then they'll call it Nigeria. It's easy for Nigeria to call anything that is Yoruba, just Nigerianize it. And if you want to say, don't touch it and make it, just leave it alone, or they say, no, you're a bigot. okay, come and use this one now. No, you're a bigot because it has to be. So what should we do? Should we get like a design where we now tape together materials from everywhere? Meanwhile, the Ishagu is not even native to Igbo land. Ishagu is not native to Igbo land now. These are colonial relics. These are colonial relics. I mean, we know exactly what that thing is meant for. It's meant for furniture. But if I see a person wearing it, does it hurt me in any way? No. It has become part of their culture today. It doesn't matter how it came in. So if that's what is there, if they have chosen to make that theirs, that's okay. If you say, for instance, you want to make it Isiagu, now, sorry guys, I need to remove this clown. You've been coming here for the last 3 days. I've been looking at you. I'm not the one you are going to gaslight. I definitely am not you. Let me not talk. Just mute you. These clowns are demonic. Somebody will say something, you will come against it and call and insult the person and accuse the person of something. When they're now responding to it, the demon in you will now say, why are you talking about this now? It's not that serious. You are demon possessed. You guys need exorcism. A priest needs to do it for you. I'm talking to the one I muted. Hey, whoa, Badu. What kind of rubbish is this? Why are you doing this to yourself and your destiny? Anyway, let me get back to what I was saying. The point is that, number one, all this thing about, oh, we are all one Nigeria, everything is national. I hope you people are noticing what's happening. That ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ tẹ́ ń sọ yìí Àjùmọ̀bí ò ṣe rò lẹ́jọ́ ní Ìjàlára ò tán bọ̀rọ̀. Sorry, Anju wọn ò ṣe wí lẹ́jọ́ Ìjàlára ò tán bọ̀rọ̀. Ìlara ló pọ̀ jù ń bẹ̀. It's just a bunch of clowns making us all over the place. And the idea of unity is, what they mean by unity is not even that you should share something with them, is that they should take over what you have. And when they are cornered, no matter what Ankoro, they're not telling you things like, okay, let's just make it something that everybody can work with. So Khaki will be better. Personally, I think they should leave the Khaki there. There's nothing's wrong with it. If it's not broken, don't fix it. But if they want to reform it, and maybe they should wear a suit or whatever, but that they should leave it alone. However, this conversation has revealed something, and it's so sad that majority, if not all, of the people who are vehemently against this thing are Igbos. It's a shame. And it's a product of inferiority complex. Like, you are inferior. Nobody has to tell you that you are smaller. You just believe you are inferior. So every time you see something, you are throwing tantrums and crying like bush babies. It's amazing how this thing can be cultural. And it's a shame. And I hope that there's healing somewhere in the future, but I'm not holding my breath. So, but on principle, there's nothing wrong as far as, having Adire. Maybe you can say, thinking about it now, after all this Ulabalu or Balablu, after all the Balablu, you can say maybe they should make it like the ethnicities or regions or the dominant, even that one will say cause Wala, because people don't think. A dominant ethnicity or dominant whatever in each region should create something for the people. Then that will not be national again. Then it will not become another Wala. They should just leave it as Khaki. As a matter of fact, they should just be wearing the way they are as a pathway for them to study Nigerian history. It's fascinating to me. It does not mean that all of Nigerian history is reduced to knock culture, but it means that there's something pivotal in that particular moment in history, or at least it represents a part of Nigeria that we can all study. That's what you expect when you are saying you want to have unity. I think you can do it for every ethnic group of the Yoruba. Once you do it like this, the demons in people just begin to cry. And since I cannot visit everybody to exercise and cast out devils, may God, I want to speak right now that may the devils go out. But if you're a Yoruba person, the real lesson is that people are threatened by existence and by, I dare say, the superiority of the culture, because there's really nothing you can take out of some places. Tell me. Let me not go there. You look around some places and you're like, okay, so what do we pick from your place that we can give people to wear? You don't even have anything that you can wear, even in your own house. You have some people, I'm not going to mention any ethnicities, but some people, for instance, whose everything from the top to the bottom, everything they are decked in is imported. And they call that ensemble traditional. Everything, including the design, everything is imported, but they call the ensemble, traditional. Is that your own that you should come and take and put there? Anyway, that's Nigerian unity for you. They should not use Ankara shout. They should not use. Meanwhile, by the way, they should not use Adire. But meanwhile, a lot of the Ankara we wear, they're not even made in Nigeria. Holland is lace that's made in Switzerland. Many of the Ankara we wear are made in Holland, and the push into Africa, right, by Dutch firms started after, and this is quite interesting. The connection in culture. The push into Africa by the Dutch, right, came after they lost their territories in Asia, particularly Indonesia. They then moved into Africa and looked at the designs and decided to manufacture. Someone says Ankara is a town in Turkey. It's not about the town, it's about the material. The fabric you're using is actually from Europe. Ankara is not native to us. Yes, it's a name in Turkey, but even the material itself is not from our place. Here's the sad part. There are Adire materials today that are being imported from China. Import is not only. They will now go and use one fele kind of material, and then they will print on it. They will use our designs and print on it. If you import that one for these clowns, they will wear it. Just take the one that they're importing from China. That is, China also have very good quality, to be clear, but it's not handmade. It's industrially mass produced, right? And it doesn't have that the craftsmanship that you would expect or that you would find with what you see in Itoku, for instance. And here's another thing as a Yoruba man. Let me say something. Recently, one of the wives of the Oni, Ademilui, that's Oni Oja, the queen was talking about how they're having a lot of festivals around Adire in Ife. And there's something I noticed about Yoruba people. There's this, what's the word? But me, every time I think of Adire, the first, even though they're having the festival in my hometown in Ife, every time I think of Adire, I think of Itoku, I think of Abeokuta. But I like what they do. We're doing it here, we're doing it there, we're doing it there. It makes it like, as long as, number one, the art is not dying. Number two, it's adding to the economy of these spaces. I'm okay. I don't care. But we know this. We know that everybody has a kind of connection with Adire. This and again, because of the way you do things, because of your sophistication, because of your copying it. And here's the beautiful thing. I don't mind sharing part of all of this, and I'll end with this. A people who hate Nigeria adopting whatever is Yoruba will adopt what is Yoruba and call it their own, thereby appropriating it without giving credit, because it's a mindset of a thief. Every ancient civilization where you have mature people or mature cultures, they copy. There's nobody who has not been influenced in one way or another by another culture, right? So you say, okay, in Yoruba land, for instance, there are certain words that we got from people, there's some from other cultures, there's some words that we also loaned out to other cultures, right? There are certain food, even, right, that we borrowed. Some we also loaned out. That's our culture. It's a product of mingling, right? But what sensible people or what advanced cultures do is, after copying, they will credit the owners. They say, we're doing this. So that's why when you read the English dictionary, you see certain words and then you see origin. Some have Latin origin, some have Greek origin, some have Persian origin, some have, you go there and then you see Alakara and then they write origin Yoruba. So that's how me as a Yoruba man can say that there's something called Alaruba, being Ojoru Wednesday, but was borrowed from Arabic. But these clowns, they will tell you that they want to use what is yours, but you should allow them say that they gave it. For instance, this bunch of buffoons go around saying that there's Gile, it's not Gile, it's Ishafu that was not even existing until the British arrived. Anyway, those who are telling that we are all from the southwest, we are all one Nigeria, we must all have your kiniko, are also the ones saying that not every Nigeria is from southwest, because again, inferiority complex. Having discussed these clowns, let us now move to another clown. This time is a Yoruba clown. You see, every ethnicity has them. I don't even understand where to start from. One this one that they said went to rent out a space in Federal Secretariat. All right. And I mean, to be fair, in his defense, and I said yesterday, that 1.3 billion naira that they included in the budget, it's important for them to. The man could not have done it on his own. He definitely had some help. But here's the thing: this man who calls himself the DG of a particular agency, federal government agency, and people have been attacking him. Well, he's not backing down. I'm going to play you a few clips from him. One where he's talking, saying that some people are after his life, and he's speaking from hiding, right? And then the other one is actually very recent. It was an interview with Shewa Kimbaloye on Channels TV. Let's take the address. I mean, I'll call this like a press conference, and I'd like you to.
President has meritoriously served for good 20 years and worked from minority leader, majority leader, and the speaker for good 4 years. I mean, he rose to be the number 4 citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So the question becomes unaffordable. At what point in the process did reference to non-existent agency allegedly enter the official record? And if that are indeed present in an official documentation, what that implies about the integrity of the process that produced and approved those documents? For President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to assented his signature to a budget that includes a non-existent agency according to his chief of staff is an embarrassment to this advocating government. My distinguished media practitioner, when the question passes regarding administrative process, budget lines, and institutional communication allegedly connected to this agency, if it doesn't exist, the said acclaimed non-existent agency has domiciliary, pounds, and treasury single account, all domiciled in Central Bank of Nigeria. So what Chief of Staff is telling Nigerians is that the CBN governor, with his 4 deputies, 16 capital directors, and over 5,300 staff are clueless not to have dictated the fraudulent document for opening accounts.
I'm going to play you what the Chief of Staff, I'm going to read it to you what the Chief of Staff said, but that'll be later. For now, let's listen to the exchange between the gentleman. He's still a gentleman, regardless. I can't call people gentlemen because it's better than the alternative. So he was a guest. Shall I say? Okay, well, there was this interview, Sha. It wasn't really a guest. It wasn't in the studio, but there was an interview that was conducted. Shane was on Politics Today, and then he had a call-in. So the man was on the phone, and he asked some questions. So in this particular clip, Shane asked asked a simple question. When was this organization that you headed formed? Did you get a letter of appointment? And this is what he had to say to Shane. Take a listen to this.
Are you ready to face the law?
Definitely, sir.
No, not this one. Not this one. We're going to get to this one later. Here's the clip I actually wanted you to listen to. Take a listen.
When was this organization that you headed, you said, because they said you don't have a letter of appointment. Did you get a letter of appointment?
Mr. Shield, Definitely, I have a letter of appointment. However, since the matter is in the court, I won't be able to say much about it. However, I'm on a medication. I'm a bit down. I'm sick, so I'm trying to take care of myself.
When you say that,
is
yes.
All right. He then went ahead, went ahead to ask him how he got the office in the Federal Secretariat and how he met Femi Gbajabiamila. Please take a listen to this.
back on your feet, how you got an office in the Federal Secretariat, SGF denies you, the federal government denies you. Have you personally met Mr. Gbajabiamila physically before?
Yes, sir. All those one will be sorted out in the court. I won't want to say much about it.
Who was funding the salaries of your you have about 300 staff. Was this coming from the federal government?
Mr. Shu, the truth will be unraveled at
So,
the court of law.
So here's the issue. If the truth will be unraveled in the court of law, why are we having this conversation? That's actually my own question. Like, why not? Why are you on TV? Why are we having this conversation? Why are we listening to you? Anyway, at this point, when I listened to this interview, by the way, I began to think perhaps we should have this thing of innocent until proven guilty. You know, but to be honest, I don't know what to think. Let me just confess. I don't know what to think. I don't know if, at this point, I don't know if he's... I mean, yesterday I was clear about the fact that this is wrong and everything based on the information we had. Now, I don't know. I don't know because it's looking like the president is saying something, or the chief of staff to the president is saying something, and then the man is saying something else, and he's very confident about it, and he's saying, let's go to court. Whether it's Ogbojo, I don't know. But he was asked a question if he ever met Gbajabiamila, and it was like when they get to court. But Sheon didn't stop there. Sheon then asked another question, and this time he asked him if he wants us to believe that Gbajabiamila knew about his appointment, and this is how that went down. Take a listen, please.
Oh, I'd like to find out from you. Your stance and the inference you are making is to the extent that you are saying categorically that Mr. Gbajabiamila is in the picture of things as far as your appointment is concerned. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And that you got the confirmation of the appointment through Mr. Gbajabiamila's office. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
You say that there is a go between you and Mr. Gbajabiamila, and the said man is dead. Is the death of the person linked to this appointment?
Let the court indicate all those things, Mr. Shaw.
All right.
Finally, he was asked if he would be ready, if he's ready to face the law courts. Take a listen to this.
Face the law.
Definitely, sir. If I'm wrong, let the court right. Let the court of law do that. Do the right thing.
You have been described as a con artist. Yeah?
Okay. Go ahead.
You have been described as a con artist, and that this is not the first time this is happening. That there was a time that you described yourself as a leader of a UN organization. Is this a habit for you?
No, sir. You know what? Since the matter is in the court, let the court of competent jurisdiction vindicate, because I'm ready to clear my name. Let the court take its course. Since my lawyer are involved, everybody will follow us. They will monitor the whole thing. Then let the court of competent jurisdiction do the needful.
Tell us, when was this organization that you headed, you said, because they said you don't have a letter of appointment. Did you get a letter of appointment?
Mr. Shield, definitely I have a letter of appointment. However, since the matter is in the court, I won't be able to say much about it. However, I'm on a medication. I'm a bit down. I'm sick, so I'm trying to take care of myself.
When you say that you are ready to face, and apologies for your ill health, pray that you get back on your feet.
Apologies,
how you got an office in the Federal Secretariat, SGF denies you, the federal government denies you. Have you personally met Mr. Gbajabi Amila physically before?
Yes, sir. All those ones will be sorted out in the court. I won't want to say much about it.
Who was funding the salaries of your we have about 300 staff. Was this coming from the federal government?
Mr. Shiu, the truth will be unraveled at the court of law.
But give us an understanding. That organization that you are talking about, the federal, the Presidential Foreign Intervention Promotion Council, I understand that you are the very first Director General of that organization, set up in 2024. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Who exactly addressed your letter? Was your letter addressed from the SGS office or the office of the president?
Mr. Shiu, I don't want to talk much about it since the matter is in court. In fact, I'm restricted not to talk since the matter is in the court. So let's just get to the court.
Okay. A lot of Nigerians are watching you tonight and wondering what exactly. Some people think that you're a criminal, that you're a con artist. Are you a criminal? Are you a con artist?
No, sir. However, the court would do justice to that.
I think they just let this man rest and recuperate since he's sick. He's at the hospital, so he's in the hospital. So he needs he needs to concentrate on his health, and then maybe when they get to court, the rest of the country will know exactly what's up. Because every question, Nigeria Info had a program where they discussed this issue. The particular person, the host is Kofi Bartels, and this is what he had to say on this matter. Take a listen, please.
Found out. Let me take my eyeglasses off. Sorry. This means that the presidency found out that some random chap, some random fellow, forged the signature of the chief of staff, the principal officer to the president, the one who is de facto the eyes, the ears, the mind, the brain of the president, who makes sure he is almost like a president. That a random fellow stood up one day and went and forged the government his signature, appointed himself, and got accommodation in the federal government secretariat in Abuja maybe.
So here's the thing. Thank you very much, Akedi Olojumari. That's an interesting name. So I think these are questions that the federal government needs to answer, but I don't know if it's something they're going to bring out, to be honest, because it's terrible however you look at it. I want to take a break now and just read some comments, or if you want to contribute to the conversation, please feel free to send your request on TikTok. I'll read some comments on other platforms if we have anybody saying something. Sean Obankwa, please send your request. So you want to come up? Please send your request. I'd like to hear your thoughts about this. Okay. You're able to send the request, okay? Don't worry, I'll find it. I'll see if we can work around. Can create a workaround. 1 second. Okay, I've sent you an invite. Okay, good. Let's start with CEO, since he came up first. Please mute, Sean Obankwa. Thank you.
Can I
CEO go coded? Yes, please go on.
No, can I go after him?
Okay, that's fine. Perfect. Sean Obankwa, please go on. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Prof.
Ẹkáàbọ.
Intervention Council. I read somewhere, okay, I'm not the oracle on this, it's a perspective. I read somewhere that council was actually established in 2019 under the last regime. And then when this current regime took over, the council was dissolved. and a new one created with a different name. I think it's now PECC.
Sorry, there's like, are you eating?
No.
Okay, it's in the background. Okay.
I think it's the background. Funny enough, I'm at the dining table, but it's fine. Am I clear now?
Àwọn èmi ló sọ fún mi. Àwọn èmi ló sọ fún mi.
Ànúnú ló gbé wá. Àmì.
1%. All right, mo ń gbọ́.
So there's a new council that has replaced that one called PECC. Mi ò mọ full meaning acronym yẹn náà. Like I said, it's perspectives. Now, this man is a very well-informed person. I cannot call him names, but I know he's very well-informed. Prof, let me come from this angle. You are a director in the civil service. I am your friend. And I come to you with a letter stating whatever. The default setting as a typical Nigerian is to act on that letter without confirming if it's genuine or otherwise. Am I correct?
True.
If you are well informed enough, you will know where exactly to press buttons, who exactly to talk to get things done in this country. And it will be done on compassion, on sentiments rather than on facts. So for him to get an office in the secretariat is not rocket science or spectacular. If you know who to talk to, if you're a familiar face, people will assist you to do anything in the secretariat. For him to access the budget is very easy. Budget is everywhere. The only thing the man did is to identify that defunct agency still had a budget line and acted on it. He exploited that. And then opening an account with CBN is still about talking to the right people. If I bring you a letter from the presidency that you cannot authenticate, and you are my person, or there's some incentive or inducement, you will act on it. This guy is informed. I mean, from history, we read that somebody sold the Eiffel Tower. He sold it.
Somebody sold the airport in Nigeria itself that did not exist.
Exactly. Eiffel Tower, somebody sold it 2 times. And nothing happened. So it's just information. I'm not calling the man names. In fact, to an extent, mo salute courage àti intelligence èèyàn tó lè rí loophole bẹ́ẹ̀ tó gbàbẹ̀ wọlé. But my real point is, this is the systemic. My real point is, this is exactly the systemic corruption that we have in Nigeria. It is not about this regime. Thank God it's coming to life in this regime. Anybody calling Femi Gbaja names or President Tinubu names is just being politically correct. The truth is, this will happen anytime, anywhere. We don't know how many has even happened. People see loopholes and they exploit it. This one is coming to life probably maybe because of sharing formula, or he has overreached. It's always happening like that. But the truth is, systemic corruption will come to play when people can do things based on sentiments, based on inducement, based on personal interest, rather than based on facts.
Thank you very much for your submission, Shonabankwa. Let me just quickly say some things as far as what he said is concerned. So, is it true that there was an agency called PEAC, Presidential Economic Advisory Council? Yes. The agency was established by President Muhammadu Buhari in September of 2019 to replace the economic management team. But that agency was a legitimate body. It was actually a government agency. What the State House, because I have to tell you who is saying it, what the State House is saying about Adire Matthew is that he launched his operation and decided to conflate his own fake identity with the real presidential agency. So he will call himself, so he, according to them, again, he used, every time he went to present what he was doing, he would say PEAC/PFIPC. That's Presidential Foreign Intervention Promotion Council. That's the one he created, well, that's the one that he's the DG of. But what if he used to have this joint banner of Presidential Economic Advisory Council, which was created by Buhari / Presidential Foreign Intervention Promotion Council. So it's like he was doing that intentionally, according to State House. And they said I used the name of that PEAC, which is a recognized federal body, to clear security hurdles. And that was that was how he found a way into the federal secretariat, because everybody knew that there was something called PEAC. That's what they are saying here. As a matter of fact, they said that the State House says that he had about 3 senior civil servants who were deployed to work under him. Now they've discovered, according to the State House again, I'm trying to summarize, that everything he has done, right, he has relied on forged appointment letters, letterheads, and seals tied to the office of the current Chief of Staff, Gbajabiamila. But everything he's using is fake, according to the State House statehouse.gov.ng. So what that means basically is this, and it explains a lot. And thank you for bringing that up. I went to the website. It explains a lot. You can now understand how he was able to get, because I was asking that question yesterday, and how he was able to get into CBN. And he mentioned it earlier as well, that how can he use a fake organization to get a bank account and domiciliary bank account and all kinds of accounts with the Central Bank of Nigeria that has all these fantastic people and, you know, professionals working there. How could they have used something fake to get in there? But from what the State House is saying, perhaps, and this is a theory, perhaps he used an existing agency, right, with real ties with government whenever he wanted to like do things with other agencies, but then he would now, you know, essentially hide under the cover of the one that Buhari created in order to push whatever he was doing. I mean, I hope the court actually settles this, and I wish him all the best. He seemed a bit confident about his chances in court. So we'll see how that goes. But thank you very much for that submission, Shono Bankwa. And we'll go to the next speaker now, CEO Coded. Good evening.
Good evening, Prof.
Welcome, sir.
So, thank God
comment section. Comment section. Only the man is too tall, he no fit height.
Okay, Prof, this is not the worst that we've had. I don't know if you recall, in 1997, some people actually set up Central Bank. And the office was directly opposite Central Bank of Nigeria, Leko. And this was even during military regime. It was not during civilian regime. It was during military regime. And they were eventually arrested. So, I mean, agencies, I mean, if somebody can set up a fake Central Bank in Nigeria, so agency and those that are well informed can actually take advantage of those loopholes to either siphon government funds or breach government budgets. And like I said yesterday, cartel front. So by the time push comes to shove, a lot of other things will be exposed. And unfortunately, I don't know why, maybe it was because it was Gbajabiamila that announced it. I don't know why his name kept coming up, because even appointment is secretary to the government of the federation. It's not chief of staff. Chief of staff to the president is different from the office of the secretary to the government of the federation. So Gbajabiamila cannot issue a letter of appointment to anybody. He's not the secretary to the government. He's chief of staff to the president. End of story. Then I read something in Premium Times. I think the statement, incidentally, I don't know why this is just coming up now, because they said once he began investigation last year, and some of the staff that work with him were actually interviewed, I think somewhere around either September or November last year, I'm not too sure. But Premium Times this said that according to the statement that were offered by the staff, the 3 senior staff that were working with him, that Sometimes they don't even show up at the office because there was really nothing to do. So there was no task assigned to them per se. They were just seconded. I think one of them was seconded from the office of the accountant general, and then 2 of them from the civil service. They said they don't know anything about the activity of the agency that they work with. So they just like go to the office to mark register. Then a week, and then but salary anyways. So because it's not the one paying their salary directly, I think it was the civil service that still pays their salary, so to say. So they don't know anything about. I mean, that alone. But they were not in a position to like voice or raise concerns or protest because, I mean, who would not want to go to work and be collecting free salary? So I think that is their own part. Now, the man seems bold, but in my own assessment, I think the man is also overdoing. You know, and I say this because I've seen a lot of pictures over a speaker, your picture, over it shows someone that is trying to create a sort of legitimacy for something that is not legitimate. You know, because, I mean, like they say, an empty barrel makes the loudest noise. If you don't have anything to prove, there's no point you taking picture with this, taking picture with that, showing video with this, showing because you lost the House of Assembly. So I think there's something fishy, and I pray and I hope they're able to get to the bottom, to the full bottom of it, and it will be maybe publicized eventually, because a lot of times when these things happen, we really don't know what happens at the end of the day. I come back, okay, what's she and but I hope in this case now, since Nigerians are very, very interested in this matter, I hope they actually get to the bottom of this to find out who actually issued the letter, his cohort, his accomplices, his partners. Because I want to believe again that Kisho only come, because there are too many loopholes in government. And like the gentleman said that, look, I bring an appointment letter to you from the presidency, you are a director, and you are my friend, and I say, okay, we want to finish you can't confirm or ignore, you just, see the president, so you go ahead and assist me with whatever assistance, sometimes also as a result of inducement or whatever it is, so that's possible. Then on the other one, on the NYSC, I took my time to read through the policy document for the NYSC, and I was impressed that somebody actually sat down, or some people actually sat down to think through this. Now look, we've had this thing for a number of years. The purpose for which it was established, that purpose has been fulfilled, but I don't think it's actually fulfilling, or I don't think NYSC right now is adding value to the society. And there was a need to rethink the entire process. And somebody sat down and came out with this document. For the policy document, I don't think I have any problem with it. I mean, we are in 21st century. Different centuries, different decades, different years require different strategy. So we need to re-strategize. First, for the scheme to actually benefit Nigeria, and also to benefit those that are involved in the scheme themselves. Because if you ask any person that's gone through NYSC in recent time, did not come back. Maybe a few one of them totally reshare that or to get a you'll go there, go do parade and everything, and then you come back. So it's a lot. I mean, it's not really doing a lot for the nation. Then on the issue of the Asho, Nigeria, God will help us. I need to say that because I don't see, as per the analysis you gave, I don't see any reason why Adire becomes a problem. And you know, like you said, this is actually being put by a certain section of the society or a certain ethnicity. Now, I saw something on TikTok today. I was going to respond to it, but luckily somebody responded to it before me. Some Igbo girl came online and said, Gele is not Gele, it is called Ichiafu or something like that. And she went to quote some document some European document of 1880 or 1890 that says that Gele translates to handkerchief. That Ichiafu and Gele in Yoruba is handkerchief. That Ichiafu in Igbo is head tie. And in my mind, I was like, what if you want to call head tie Ichiafu? How is that my business? Why do you now have to corrupt my own language to make your own authenticate your own theory? Okay, but thank God somebody has put out a different narrative there, because like I said, we need to start putting, look, it's not a waste of time for us to rebuff some of this thing because she has put it out there. If you go on ChatGPT or you go on Google to search for this thing, you see this thing before you even see the rebuttal. So it's better as much as we can to begin to rebuff these things and begin to create the right narrative, not just for us alone, but even for the future generation of the Yoruba bots and Yoruba people that may want to. So can you correct it? Meanwhile, it is correct. So we need to do that. So let me just stop there for now. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you very much, CEO Coded. So you said a number of things. Naturally, I'm more interested in that cultural thing because it's about identity, and that's why you also said it the way you said it, because it's important to you. So the dictionary she was referring to, I have it here, but because I wasn't prepared, I didn't know you're going to talk about it, so I'm not looking at it right now, but if I find it, I'm going to read to you. Did Yoruba people have the word gele to represent handkerchief? Yes, gele nuju. There was something like that. So again, it was, so handkerchief, the idea basically that when they wanted to give it, they had it. And then, or let me put it this way, when Onyibo came with this kind of handkerchief, this kind of piece of clothing, they used something they had to name that thing. So they call it Gele Nuju. But that does not mean that Gele itself is in Nuju. Or Gele itself, I'm trying to use one eye to find this while I'm looking at you. That doesn't mean that the Gele itself is the Nuju. That's not what it is. So here's what's happening. Certain people want to, again, let me start by saying that there's nothing wrong with copying something from other cultures. Every culture does it, right? We also borrow things from people. People borrow things from us. There's nothing wrong with it. The real problem is when people become so attached to stealing that they are going to use Ogboju and find a way to appropriate what belongs to you. Here's the truth. There was no grand head scarf. Head gear. If you notice also, we don't call it scarf, because scarf is different. Our mothers have scarves now. Usually, it could be from the same materials. 1 second, please. 1 second. Retards sometimes find a way here, but we have to send them to naughty corners. All right. They could, usually the material from, the same material of the clothes they're wearing, right? Number one, Kara, one she, like, Koinche Bori, Uncle Shama Dimorisha, but it's not proper gele. No, Iborun, you have to say Pele. Iborun is scarf. Okay, Iborun is a scarf. Okay. One Shama Demo, one fee Iborun, one Demori. Essentially, big bacteria, Baba and Baba, Korima Bofo. But you have to just also Pele. O man roi Pele Leori Ironi. So Yoruba ni ro, yeah, one ro, one Pele, one Iborun. Right? Iborun yen ton ba ti wa we gele, one aso sorun. Ton ba we gele, one we mori. That becomes like a scarf. But gele, I wish I actually wanted to talk about it today. I would have found you that material, that stuff. Gele is usually of a very, very sturdy material, manly. All right. So even for Yoruba people, we know the difference between Kenko Mashoko Wemori as a call Logele. Although these days we call everything Gele. Now the difference is, the issue is for these people who are clearly, misfits, they don't have that in their culture. They've only come to learn it, looking at Yoruba people. And that's why when you watch movies from the Southeast, you will not see, when they're discussing their ancient king, which is not really ancient to be clear, because we have to be saying the truth to ourselves. But when they're discussing whatever history, they're always using beads. And those beads is also borrowed from another culture. All right? But you notice the way the ladies always dress. They'll have a short wrapper around their waist and something around their breast, and that's it. Someone has written the name of the place where they bought partly. I'm really looking for it. I found some pictures, but what I'm looking for is actually the document. I think I'm close, and if I find it, it will be really nice for me to read it to you guys. I want to read this to you. This is from Improvement Associations among the Afikpo Igbo. It says between 1947 and 1951, a women's union called Ovuejo existed in the area, drawing its members from various villages. These women wore Yoruba clothes as well as the Yoruba head tie. They considered themselves more civilized than other Afikpo women. The document is called Improvement Associations among the Afikpo Igbo. I'm looking for, there's a particular document, but even that one tells you something. That this particular group started wearing Yoruba clothes. This was in 1940. This is not 18 anything. This is 1947. It wasn't that long ago. I mean, as far as history is concerned, right? They began to dress like Yoruba women and use Yoruba head tie, and they consider themselves more civilized than other women in their area. All right? And I'm going to talk to you about the Ishafu ridiculous nonsense that they're pushing out around these days. I mean, I'll tell you, it's nonsense, because why would you change your story? Because okay, I found something close. Let me read some of these things to you. So Ishafu itself, in their own dictionary, means scarf, not headgear, not hair tie. And in another dictionary, it is also a corruption of the word chiffon. So it's a scarf. I mean, that's what it is. But the word itself is not even native to Igbo land. I mean, and there's no problem with that, just to be clear, because we have some crazy clowns here who come. Just a few of us. I mean, not just a few of the people that are coming here, but the rest of us, of course, we are very wise people. I don't know why they're disturbing me. So here's the thing. Ishafu, that word, is a corruption of a French word, chiffon. Okay? And it happens in every culture. People use other people's words every day. There's no problem with that. But when they corrupted it, it was just to represent scarf. And there's no big deal. When they began to meet us, Yoruba people, they then noticed a different style. And there's nothing wrong with this. You travel and you see a different style, then you copy it. Right? But what you don't do is tell the people that, listen, when my mothers did not have clothes to cover their head, what your grandparents were using somehow belongs to me, even though I didn't have that history. You're a thief now. And I have pictures here of pre-colonial Igbo women with their Ishafu. This is not today's topic, but we're going off of what CEO Kodet said. So let me show you something here. This is what Ishafu looks like. And there's nothing wrong with this, to be clear. There's nothing wrong with Ishafu. It's a scarf. There's nothing wrong with it. All right, look at this one. Okay, this is Ishafu. It's just scarf. All right. There's no, and that came, by the way, after colonization, just to be clear. Because it came after colonization. It wasn't something that was native. And again, nothing is wrong. Everybody evolves. You meet people, you get better, you add things to your culture and so on and so forth. But what these clowns are doing now is to say, and if you want to call it Ishafu, why would you want to even do that? Let me read another one to you. It's not here. When I see it, I'm sure you're going to like it. Let me read this one. This is from Design Objects. I can't find the title now, but let me just read the stuff. It's from Ellen Jennings. Ellen Jennings provides a definition of gele in the glossary of a new book, New African Fashion. She defines it as an elaborate Yoruba head tie, usually made from ashoke, damask, brocade, or haze. Jennings' list of haze as if it's a type of textile like damask or brocade rather than a brand name. This shows the extent to which the company has become synonymous with the development of the fashion for these head ties. So it's trying to explain what Helen Jennings wrote in her book New African Fashion in 2011, where she described what gele is. And what she said basically was that it's an elaborate Yoruba head tie, usually made from asho. So that's why I said that the material is really sturdy and hard, unlike the normal clothes that our mothers use on there. So you born almost so yamori. Iru yẹn ló máa tẹ́ wọ́n lọ sí wọ́n lọ sọ́jà àwọn kan fẹ́ sáré jáde. But tẹ́pọ̀ dé ni in tó lé yẹn ló máa ń dé wé mọ́rí. Excuse me. Meanwhile, I think it's also be said that it's not only Gele that the Igbos borrowed from Yoruba language. There are many things they borrowed, and I'll read some things to you here from Ebonyi Journal of Language and Literary Studies. The title of this article is actually Borrowing to Enrich Language Vocabulary, Lesson from the Igbo Language. It was written by Christopher Aja. All right, and this is what he said. He said, as seen in Hausa language situation, where Igbo language borrowed to elaborate its vocabulary from different aspects of culture, Yoruba also donated to the elaboration of Igbo language vocabulary. The aspect of Yoruba culture where Igbo borrowed from are technology, food, disease, word for general purpose. Igbo borrowed little from Yoruba technology, but it says they borrowed things like borrowed was buba. In cultural technology, in the cultural area of technology, they borrowed buba and agbada, which are Yoruba clothes. Okay, Igbo also borrowed this name for another type of Yoruba cloth called agbada in Yoruba language, without changing the word without change in the word form. A lot of words were borrowed from Yoruba food culture. These are traditional Yoruba foods which are now being eaten by Igbo people but do not have Igbo origin. Akara, egusi, agidi, moi moi, alibo. So akara is akara in Yoruba. Egusi the same thing. Agidi is the same thing. Moi moi is from moi moi. Alibo is from elubo. These are things according to the Journal of Language and Literary Studies. Was published in 2018. Does this make the culture inferior? No. And that's the thing. Do you know how many words are in English language that are not even English? I mean, I've said it here before, so I don't want to go over it again, but it's not, it just shows that you have related with another group. You know, but when you raise your children as victims, right, as perpetual victims of every story, what happens is that they are constantly trying to make up for the inferiority with which you have, you know, inculcated, with which you have raised them. So you're victims to fight back. It's so appropriate. I'll read a few more things. I found what I was looking for about that French thing. Ishafu is French, and these are foreign words borrowed into the language and written in accordance with Igbo spelling rules. So even January, for instance, Igbo call it January. All right. Agidi, corn paste, they borrow from Yoruba. Ishafu, they borrow from English language. That's handkerchief. Nkachifu. I'm not just talking, I'm reading material as well before some people now come and be shouting. Okay? Why is this important? But this is, you might wonder, like, someone might be here just say that it doesn't really matter. People are hungry. If you're hungry, go and eat. If your family members are hungry, go and feed them. Don't come here and be writing that thing, because they always write it. So people are hungry, go and eat. This one is dictionary. English Igbo dictionary. Chiffon is Ishafu. Earrings is Iyerinti. Umbrella is Mbuloda. Handkerchief is Nkachifu. This is English Igbo dictionary. So all these things, again, like I said earlier, it's not a problem to to, someone say handkerchief. In fact, the handkerchief will start with an N. It's not a problem to borrow. Every language, I mean, if you interact with other languages, most likely you're going to borrow from them, and it's okay. All right. But if you want to be an inferior person and forever be victims, please continue playing that rubbish game. There's that document. If I find that document, I'm still looking for it too. The ones I'm talking about, I'm just just tells you that I did the work on it one time, so I'm trying to see if I can find it. But if not, I think we did a video at the time. Did I put out that video? I think I changed my mind because I was a bit brutal. Anyway, the point is, people should feel free to borrow from different cultures, but stop being a thief. And if a Yoruba person, you're like, doesn't really matter. Listen, in Mexico, something similar happened. Or just slippers. Also happened in India. One was Adidas. One was Adidas. The other one was Prada. One was Prada. I think that was one in Mexico. It was another one. I don't know if it was Adidas in India, but I'll find it for you later. Where they took a design of footwears and Prada began to sell it. They got really upset about it and they went to court. Identity, right? Cultural artifacts, material folklore is very, very important to people. And if you don't have it, borrow it and tell people that now you own it doesn't kill you. Vitamin says our own umbrella is Aburada. God bless you. We also did not have umbrella before the Oyinbo came. There's nothing shameful about it. There are things Oyinbo did not have before they came. And that's why they needed our palm oil to make soap. You can go figure. The point is that we all helped each other. But once you now begin to say, well, I made everything beautiful in his time, you are dumb. All right, but I think that's about it. And then you also mentioned the man who had the CBN guy, who, essentially floated the CBN. What he did actually was to even to sell an airport to, I think it was a Japanese man in Brazil for over $240-something million back in the 1990s. All right. And I hope that they sort out this issue of this man, and hopefully that will be better. Dr. Baju says that umbrella is Agboru. Told you about Ronko. Dr. Baju told you about Ronko. Kilamakbe. Someone says Alubosa. Yes, we borrowed Alubosa. Right? We borrowed Alubosa. But just like we borrowed from Arabic language, we borrowed Alamisi, Thursday. We borrowed even Jima. Jima is for Jumat. It's for the Jama. The outside will call it Jama. Who will call it Jima? Is borrowed from that. Someone wrote Alafia. Yes, we borrowed it. English also borrowed from Arabic, by the way. You have words like orange. Interestingly, Arabic also borrowed that word from Persian. Arabic had borrowed orange and cash from Persian, and then English in turn borrowed those words from Arabic. Words like orange, lime, lemon, cash, words like that, they borrowed from there. In the French area, because of Norman invasion, they borrowed other words like entourage and so on and so forth, sabotage. They borrowed from German, they borrowed from Greek. Many of the words we use today are Greek words. Psychology is a Greek word, biology. All these words are, philosophy. We've come to make you feel as if they are English words, but they have Greek roots. All right. Philadelphia, for instance, the city in the United States, it's brotherly love. It's a Greek word. Psychology, psychology, logos, study. All these things, most of the words you have in the medical books, for instance, are a combination of Greek, Latin. It's how cultures grow. I don't understand. Someone says Zoroastrian. Yeah, Zoroastrian was basically Persian now. Abi? It was in Iran. That's the base of Zoroastrian. Abi? Mr. Remi, please let me know. So what I'm saying basically is that there's always that connection with different cultures, and it doesn't reduce you in any way. It doesn't make you feel, it shouldn't make you feel like you're less. It's just that, the people that raise these ones, may God help them. All right, let's have, someone says me and Amy. Okay, thank you, Mr. Remi. You know, there's a book, let me even recommend a person. I want you to, there's a video he did about Agba, anyone wants it, Agbagon. I don't want to stand up. The man has crazy, he studied in Yale, right, decades ago. It's a fantastic, he has a fantastic understanding of languages. Look what you know. I remember that name. I have his books inside. What a terrible thing. In his own mind, all the languages are connected. All world languages are connected. Is it Moyo? She Moyo, look over. Timbaro call my Ekemo. Let the next person speak. While he's speaking, I'll remember the name.
Is that me?
Sorry. Enisru. Oduyoye, that's his name. I might be almost Aleko. No, not Moyo Kidiji is an author. Baba is Baba Oduyoye. That's his name. I remember the surname. The first name I'll tell you when I find his surname. Sorry, his first name, but it's Oduyoye. Okay. He has a fantastic understanding. Modukpe Oduyoye. That's his name. A fantastic understanding of the connection of languages across the world. He's written some fantastic books as well. He will tell you about Semitic languages, the connection with Yoruba people, how you can connect with the English words, how many of the words in the world are basically consonants without vowels, and the people introduce vowels to them, and then you find similarities across cultures. That's why that's why I don't like when people say things like because we have words that sound alike, therefore we are the same. Like I can say the same thing about my language or the words in my language and in English language. And I always use a very simple example. If I say yon and yon, it sounds like the same thing, but it's the same thing, to be honest. Monyon is the same English word for I yawned. I see me yawning. Onyon is the same thing. Does that mean that English and Yoruba, we are all the same family members? And there are other words, right? So I'm just saying that to say that whether it's borrowed or we have linkages, you should be proud to say, you know what, I took this from this person and give them credit, unless you're a thief. Let's go to Amos Aleko right now so that we don't keep him waiting. Good evening, Amos Aleko.
Yeah, Prof. Yes, I send you some stuff in your WhatsApp and Facebook. So,
okay.
Máa fọwọ́ kan ìtorí àwọn tán náà wọn lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ ni o. So jẹ́ mo bọ́ fẹ́ tún Kata Bridge kọ.
Okay.
Aṣíwájú kan. Ọ̀fẹ́ Kata Bridge tó link Ìdó àti Ìdúmọ̀tà. So the old one has been there over 100 years. So they are trying to get rid of it and build a new one. Wọ́n fẹ́ kọ parallel. The new one now, they want to build a parallel and before they destroy the old one. But ó máa gba ojúbọ Ọlọ́fin Àtẹ̀kọyè nídò. Ọba Àdó dẹ̀ sọ fún wọn pé wọn ò lè gbà bẹ̀. So àwọn kan dẹ̀ láwọn lẹ́kọ̀ọ́. I just want you to see what happened. There is a video on it and a write-up on it. Yeah, so Baba ẹni tó ga jù lábà tá à ń sọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀ yìí. So for those àwọn tó kéré bí wa tá dàgbà ní 70s and 80s, before internet made everything easy. Tẹ́lẹ̀ tẹ́ bá fẹ́ gbáyàn, there's what they call arrange. Arrange is called a long con. Ẹ máa ṣe paperwork, ẹ máa jókòó, ẹ máa ṣe gbogbo ẹ máa ti sọ̀rọ̀, ẹ máa ní gang, but then èèyàn kan ló máa ṣe facing or èèyàn méjì yẹn kò síbẹ̀ yẹn máa ṣe arrange. Ẹ mọ̀ internet ló jẹ́ kó máa gbáyàn l'Amẹ́ríkà, gbáyàn London láì rí yàn náà. Ẹ gbúdọ̀ face èèyàn tẹ́ fẹ́ gbá yẹn. That man, Ọlọ́run foríjì mi o, because ọ̀nà ti ṣe kan rí United Nations. Mo feel pé àwọn generation aláàrínjì yẹn ni.
Ọmọ èkéré lẹ́ni yìí o.
Èmi rò pé àgbàlagbà ni
ó ṣe NYSC kò tí pé 2015 àbí nǹkan mà rí nínú rìpọ́ọ̀tì.
But he looks old.
Ọmọ èkéré, he looks old ṣá.
Yeah, ó lè lọ ṣe NYSC torí nǹkan tó fẹ́ ṣe, ó lè padà lọ tún NYSC ṣe because èèyàn tó mi ní over 60 ni èmi rò pé over 60 lè
Abba, no. Let me do for his video. He's over 60 bao. He's a young man now. The man cannot be can't even up to 50 bao. Can't even be
àgbàlagbà mo pé o ló jẹ́ kí nǹkan tó jẹ́ kí n rò pé bóyá you know like those old dads they don't live like.
I'll show you his picture now. No, he's not that old. He's a young. Shebonre. Mumbo.
Photo ẹ̀ tẹ́mi rí pẹ̀lú àwọn ṣinkó kan.
This is his picture now.
Yes.
Mumbo, I'll find you another one. He's a young, very young person.
Èmi rí close picture ẹ̀kan tó jẹ́ pé mi lèmi ṣe rò pé àgbàlagbà ni o.
No.
Ni mo ṣe feel pé bóyá like but then tó bá jẹ́ nǹkan tó grow up tó mọ̀ nìyẹn. Àwọn ẹlòmíì wọn ń ṣe nǹkan mi nǹkan tó bá mọ̀ lọ mọ̀ kò ní lẹ́ni internet way.
So this is a picture. Hold on. This is a picture he took with Bukola Saraki. Ewo. Can you see the picture? Ọmọ ìsàlẹ̀ kò ṣe wà bẹ́ẹ̀.
Mo wà ń bí mo ń gbọ́ yín. Mo rí ń sìn.
Ṣé you have seen his face àbí?
Kò fi bẹ́ẹ̀ ga náà, ó ga ni o. Òun náà fọ́tò ẹ̀ kan tí mo rí tó gùn gan.
Ó slender ni, so ó jẹ́ kó.
Yeah, because wọn àti Bukola lọ́jọ́ wà lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ ra wọn yẹn. Èmi rò pé èèyàn tó máa fẹ́ mú.
Ó ga ọ. Wọ́n àkórí step Bukola jókòó sí.
Yeah, so like theory tẹ́mi rò ni pé like tó bá jẹ́ àwọn tó ń ṣe arranging yẹn lọ́mọ wọn ò ní embrace internet àbí kínní nǹkan tó máa ṣe ni wọ́n máa ń ní gang èèyàn kọ́ dẹ̀ sọ ń bílẹ̀ nǹkan kò ń ṣòun nìkan o òun ló kàn mọ́ fèsì yẹn gbà ni òun ló ní confidence ló lè wọlé lọ jókòó táwọn tó máa jókòó tì and they will keep bringing paper to cover nǹkan tó máa ń ṣe tipẹ́tipẹ́ nìyẹn wọ́n ṣe lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ dáadáa àwọn alárinjí kó tó di pé 419 dé kí yahoo àbí íńtánẹ́ẹ̀tì yìí tó dé ń sìn so tó bá jẹ́ pé ọ̀dọ̀ àwọn tó ti grow nǹkan tó kọ́ nìyẹn nǹkan tó máa ṣe nìyẹn because èmi ò lúpọ̀ wà because àwọn èèyàn kan tí wọ́n ti ń ti sí gbàjà lọ́rùn wọ́n ní gbàjà gbowó ni gbàjà ṣe kiri bá àwọn náà lọ mú náà tó bá jẹ́ pọ́ gbowó ni ọ̀ ní mú náà àbí because wọ́n ti ń sọ sí pé ó níye kan tó fẹ́ gbà lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀ tí òfin lọ̀rọ̀ wọn ṣe dàrú but I feel like it's just con artist ni bó dẹ̀ ṣe máa ń ṣe nìyẹn wọ́n pọ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ like ìwà wọn nìyẹn lórí àwọn ọmọbìnrin a wà lórí iṣẹ́ wọn àwọn àpá títí a máa mi sọ fìgbà téèyàn kan sọ pé we are not enemy mo ní ìyẹn rí ti wàhálà yìí ni a máa gbélé àwọn ọmọ wa lọ́wọ́ ọmọ mi máa gbélé ọmọ ẹ̀ lọ́wọ́ ó máa sọ fún àtìrandíran la máa sọ fún àwọn ọmọ wa pé à ń ṣọ́ rẹ̀ kó ní kálukú kó ní ajá ò ní rorò
kò kí sọmọ àwọn ọmọ lọ́kùnrin.
ṣé ọmọ mi tó ti tó mọ́kọ wálé ti sọ pé kó má mú yanmire wálé mọ́ tí kò sí lọ́kàn ni mi ti sọ fún náà so báwo lẹ wá ní má gbélé so bó ṣe rí nìyẹn. mo nílé kan tí mo ti pánkòrò tó ń sìn yìí wọn náwọn lọkùn bẹ́ẹ̀ mo ní kó má fi lé mi rent dọọba àti rí Yorùbá kó fi ilẹ̀ no àwọn kankan wà tó jẹ́ pé má foko mi dálà ìjọ kan lèèyàn máa ń kọ kékeré máa ṣe wàhálà máa lọ kóòtù kéèyàn sanwó ọdún 2-3 kó máa rí mi san mọ́ mo ò fẹ́ problem tí ilé ayé fúnra rẹ̀ ń gbé sí mi wájú kan ó ju kí n wá tún lọ gbà tèèyàn míì kí máa léèyàn kiri lórí nǹkan tí ń ṣe wàhálà tí mo kó jọ no kò lè ẹ rí bí ó ti pẹ́ mo rí ẹ̀dá ọ̀tọ̀ wà lẹ́nu ọjọ́ mẹ́ta yìí mo rí Professor Remi ìgbà tá máa bẹ̀rẹ̀ kínní yìí àwọn kan wọ́n rò pé bóyá bí àwọn níṣẹ́ ó máa rẹ̀ wọ́n problem ta ní sìn ni pé àwọn táǹtù okùn lọ́rùn ẹ̀ ọ wá worst ìjà wa gan lọ ẹ mọ dogmatic stage believe because all the allies pọ̀ ti fìyà jẹ àwọn àbọ̀ ti parọ́ fún wọn àwọn yẹn bíi kó dàrú pátápátá ṣe báwa bí ẹyẹlé làwa ayé ń bá wọn tọ̀ oromádìyẹ làwọn àbádìyẹ làwọn èèyàn máa da gbogbo ẹ̀rú ni àwọn new generation tó ń bọ̀ ń sìn ọlọ́run dẹ̀ ṣe bí Nàìjíríà ṣe ń lọ you said something last year ń gbé regional government tá à ń wá tó bá jáwó lọ́wọ́ gan wá nísìnyí ó lè jẹ́ pa owó lọ́wọ́ kò ń ṣerú regional government ìgbà yẹn lọ́ máa propose mọ́ nǹkan ti change díẹ̀ a máa débẹ̀ àwọn tó dẹ̀ ń try àti má jẹ́ àdébẹ̀ wọ́n ti ń kóra wọn jọ ìgbìmọ̀ ọ̀tẹ̀ ni wọ́n ti ń kóra wọn jọ láti má jẹ́ ká débẹ̀ kò compulsory kí Nàìjíríà pín bọ̀ tó ní kálukú bá wà láàyè tá a bá ń ṣe dáadáa èèyàn tó bá eré tó wà lẹ́sẹ̀ oníkálukú àwọn tó lè sáré ìjàpá àwọn tó lè sáré ìgbín àwọn tó lè sáré ehoro oníkálukú á sáré á dẹ̀ progress at our own pace kò ń ṣe pé torí Nàìjíríà àwọn kan máa fà wá padà sẹ́yìn tọ́ba náà fẹ́ àǹkárá kó lo tarpaulin àbí kó lo nylon kó wọ̀ kó compulsory yes now èèyàn tó jẹ́ àmọ̀ bẹ̀rẹ̀ ọmọ ní kó máa sọ ijú wa ń bíbà yìí ló ń gbókó jáde ló ń fọwọ́ pọ̀ kó ló fi ń gbowó òun ló wá dé èèyàn tó jẹ́ pé àwọn ọmọ wa ń sìn yìí ń tẹ̀lé láyé ìgbà kan èèyàn tó bá ti ṣàṣemáṣe tó bá jalè ó máa mú kara ohun ìgbín ó máa so mókùn ó máa gbé sí ẹ lọ́rùn ó máa tú epo sí ó máa kí ẹ ó máa polè lé ẹ lórí káàkiri èèyàn tó bá jalè kò bá wọ aṣọ ẹ̀tù àbí kó wọ aṣọ àràn ó lè ní èèyàn tó ń ṣe ìhòòhò ẹ̀ fáwọn èèyàn that's why I'm like this olodo uprising àbí kí ló ń pè I've been asking like how do Nigeria choose their celebrity how does this young generation choose people that inspire them tó fi jẹ́ pé irú eléyìí làwọn ọmọ Yorùbá máa tẹ̀lé wọ́n tẹ̀lé lọ́yọ̀ọ́ nìbàdàn wọ́n ń gbé jígà wọ́n ń gbé gbogbo ẹ̀ àwọn bàbá wa èèyàn tó máa dáṣọ fún èèyàn tó ń rún ẹ̀ la máa wò wọ́n máa wò pé ṣé kí ló ní tó fẹ́ ọ́fà mi ìtorí ẹ̀gbà tí Sunday Igboho dé ọ ní nǹkan tó máa ṣe kọ́ nìyẹn nǹkan tó fẹ́ kó ṣe leléyìí ń sìn ṣó fẹ́ máa lé àwọn ọ̀nù kò ń ṣe pé wọ́n ló máa sọ pé ó fẹ́ mú wa lọ sílẹ̀ lérí kò ń ṣe iṣẹ́ ibi táwọn ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n wà nílẹ̀ Yorùbá àwọn ọmọ Yorùbá wá lọ tò sí akílápá kan lẹ́yìn tó yẹ pé ràn yín lórí ẹ̀ máa bú ṣèbó ti ṣe tàwọn ti kú tìyẹn tẹ́lẹ̀ náà àwọn ọ̀ràn wọn náà bọ́yìí máa ń ṣe nìyẹn àwọn elite ló máa ń tẹ̀lé ọ máa ń oppose wa ni eléyìí tó dẹ̀dà àpórí ẹ̀fẹ́ pé ń sìn wọ́n ti padà pé ní tribalist díẹ̀ àwọn ọmọ wa máa kúrò lóko ẹrú ẹ má tẹ̀lé ẹ wo president yàn ẹ wo nǹkan tó ti ṣe sẹ́yìn kò ń ṣèyàn tó gbókó ẹ̀ jáde tó ń fọwọ́ pa fún gbogbo ayé lẹ máa tẹ̀lé èèyàn tó ti benefit ó benefit through activism àwọn Gani Fáwẹ́hìnmí wọn lówó gbogbo àwọn Táyé Ṣólárin gbogbo àwọn bàbá tó jàjà òmìnira nílẹ̀ Yorùbá ìjàngbara tó ṣe gbogbo ẹ̀ tó ń fẹ̀hónú wọn ṣe ń torí owó eléyìí ń fò lọ sí China fò káàkiri ó ń gbowó lọ́wọ́ àwọn èèyàn òun làwọn ọmọ Yorùbá fẹ́ tẹ̀lé ẹ máa gbọ́n because àwọn tó máa ń ṣe tó bá ti gbé yín débi tó máa gbé yín dé tó bá ti gbẹrù orí yín wá tún gbowó lọ́wọ́ àwọn èèyàn wọ́n wá tì í sẹ́nu àwọn kìnìún mo sọ yìí mo dúró náà àbọ̀ mi rè àbọ̀ owó àbọ̀ ọmọ o ìlú Yorùbá ilẹ̀ Yorùbá dára o àwọn alálẹ̀ àgbè wa o àní ṣétì o àwọn bàbá wa ò ṣétì ogun ò ní kó wa o ogun lé ogun ta kò ní kó wa àáborí ọ̀tá àáṣẹ́gun ọ̀tá àárẹ̀yìn òdì o ẹ ṣé o ẹ kú gbìyànjú.
Madam Orisha, I don't know what happened today, but that was a brilliant submission. Just that you really went hard. It was good I didn't mention anybody's name, but that was fire. Thank you for. I don't even want to add anything to that submission. Thank you. Let's have my battlefield now. Good evening. Submissions here.
It's interesting.
My battlefield, please go on, sir.
Good evening. Nice seeing you again.
Evening, sir.
Coming here is always a pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Let me talk about the cultural appropriation or misappropriation. People need to know the difference between cultural appropriation, cultural misappropriation, cultural theft, and cultural acknowledgement. And I will tell you something. If you are familiar with Ben Okri's writings, it's so similar to Soyinka. And I think Ben Okri happened to be Soyinka's student. You can see the clarity in their writings. There is this thing. I told someone, a professor some time ago here in England, when he was calling Gongon talking drum, I said, no, the correct word is Gongon. I think we caused it. Okay? Calling Shekere, this thing, I said, Shekere. Shekere. You have to really call it the name it belongs, the real name. At the same time, I think English has borrowed lots of phrases from Yoruba, like saying, what is Shekona? That was old from Lagos Island. How much Shekona Mwelawo? I get my point.
Ṣé mo pé ibì kan wà lóṣùn ṣe tán pè ní Ṣẹ́kọ́nà? Mo bẹ̀. Ibẹ̀ gangan àdúgbò yẹn wọ́n máa pè ní Ṣẹ́kọ́nà yẹn lẹ́ sọ yìí.
And that's why the English now is now entering their own English. Or calling Koni Koje, it won't pass you. That was Obenokri, one of his writing. I think in the Family Road or so. Koni Koje, and English, they are appropriating it. They are actually borrowing and stealing more or less because they don't know, maybe, they just, this phrase makes sense.
But Shekono is English originally.
No.
Shekona.
No.
Shekona.
I want something it has turned the corner. But the original phrase is Yoruba. From Isaleko, àwọn literature obìnrin man so well. Now, we now wrote it in English, they now borrow it and say, it's good phrases. Go, take it. I remember some time ago, people were actually accusing Benokri and Shoyinka of enriching other people's language at their own detriment, without actually those people acknowledging it that this thing actually borrowed from Yoruba. You see, we need to do a lot of a revision in that regard. The same way when doing Yoruba sermon, Yoruba something in church, I don't use Igwe. I say it's even an insult. Igwe is chief. I would never use Igwe to call God. I can't buy it. I refuse to. I won't sing that time. I won't sing. They said why, and I told them. I said, do you know the meaning of Igwe? They said, no. I said, it's chief. God is not chief. God is bigger than that. You see, those little things. People need to start waking up. It's like that's why the same thing. Ogbono is apon, Ogbono, apon, and now that's why people now say, okay, Ogbono is their own native soup, whatever. I get my point. I'm not too sure maybe they used to because I live with Igbos before. I've never seen them I've never seen them eating Ogbono. Never. Until that's what you used to call it. And I chose to stick to that. But people don't realize that calling things the street name, the etymology, it's because of for historical perspective and for academic purpose. Otherwise, people will start doubting you. That's why it's good to reference in academic papers. You'll be forced to reference. That means to give kudos or to give acknowledgement to the source. As opposed to you, that's another reason why I don't follow Showore. Showore happened to be teaching history in America. And the same thing, he believed in the alternative history of Biafra. So you can imagine the damage Showore would have done. And I said, who actually employed this guy as a lecturer in America? Honestly, I was shocked when I got to know that. I said, this guy hasn't got the stamina, he hasn't got the academic stamina, the thoroughness to be a lecturer. You see, that kind of person, if you go to America, if you teach them alternative history of Nigeria, and those people, they'll be arguing with you. If you go online now, you will see different alternative history. And what they want to do is to create doubt. It's like a lawyer in court. You create doubt in the other person. So when you create doubt, they will now give the other person the benefit of the doubt. That's how cases are won. So Yoruba people need to wake up, call things the way it will be called. You don't have to call swallow, okele, okele, not swallow. Call it that way, eba, okele. So those things, they are little, but they are nuances. Little things make bigger picture if you look at it very well critically. And that's why people are able to steal our culture, misappropriate it, not acknowledging it, and run with it. And for you to take it back is so difficult. Because people are now checking through history, through other writings. So how come they wrote it like this? They wrote it like this. They said because it was true. No, the person who wrote it was wrong. The same way now you're talking about the Igbo language. I mean, calling the Igbo or whatever. Because we went back in history and said, oh, it was called this name originally. So we're going to stick to that. And because Igbo and Igbo, they are different things. And you know that if you call Igbo, it's so confusing. So we're going to stick with Igbo. So that's just my take anyway. So, and with other gentleman, I think we need to, honestly, because Nigeria, we are used to run with controversy, anything controversial. I like to take my time, give everybody the benefit of the doubt, let them do their inquiries and come back with it. Otherwise, you keep apologizing and making things wrong assumptions. I hate assumptions. I get my point. So our Nigeria, we need to show our intellect, be very, very patient. When things are in the, when they say something is under probe, wait for the result of the probe. Don't jump the gun. Don't. I know we all have assumptions and we all have our own fantasy to fulfill. As a Nigerian, we are very biased, especially in this political arena, because of politics is everywhere. It has enveloped everything. Everybody wants to be seen to be right. Right? I tell people, I argue not because I want to be right, because I want to learn. Two things. If you argue to learn, you will listen and you will learn. But if you argue to win, you will never accept the other person's alternative reality. So that's just my own submission, really. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, my Battlefield. And that was very, very good submission. Thank you so much, sir, for coming up. Almost Aleko, you're writing something in the comment section. You want to say something?
Yeah, Showore only Nigeria need Igbo problem.
No, this Showore come also, and they'll cause Showore said that Nigeria has Igbo problem. Oh, that's true. Yes,
yes. Now, only where I say program, o de paro jo like mo ruwe to ka. O de ọ̀rọ̀ tó sọ nsin tó no lecture Nigeria history ní New York. Like Prof. Sherry tó bá máa di bóyá bí 20-30 years àwa yìí làwọn ọmọ wa máa wò lọ máa ní my grandfather. Irú Ṣòro yẹn náà grandfather ló máa jẹ́ o. Àwọn ló máa sọ imagine grandfather tó máa sọ bí ó ṣe Amodka Igbo tó ṣe everybody ṣe wá pa wọ́n káwọn tó bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí pa everybody ó wá fi ebi pa wọ́n ó wá fún wọn 20 pounds. Grandfather olórí burúkú kan náà nìyẹn because grandfather kan lè ní ìsìn ó wà ń bì kan nílùú wọn tó ń sọ ìtàn òfòrí burúkú yìí tó ń sọ fáwọn ọmọ wọn tó fi ń ba ayé wọn jẹ́ báyìí. Grandfather náà nìyẹn. Èèyàn kan rí bàbá kan ó lọ bá oníyàwó òun ṣẹ̀hún ó wá ní ẹjọ́ ẹ gbà mí yànjú ó wá ní pé mo kọ̀ dàgbà ní ṣé mo sọ fún ẹ pé mo gbọ́n kò ń ṣe gbogbo àgbàlagbà ló gbọ́n kò lo ayé ẹ̀ dáadáa àwọn bàbá olórí burúkú táyé wọn ti bàjẹ́ ó tún máa mú àwọn ọmọ wọn náà ó máa pòkọ ọ̀bànújẹ́ àtòrí burúkú ó máa gbé fáwọn ọmọ wọn máa mú àwọn ọmọ wọn máa gbé mu ayé àwọn ọmọ náà ó máa bàjẹ́ bíi titi wọn náà. Ẹ wo Nàìjíríà èèyàn tí ò bá ti túra ẹ̀ wá inú ń bí mi lé ní ẹ mọ̀ kí mò ń sọ̀rọ̀ báyìí tẹ́lẹ̀ inú ń bí mi because mo kàn ń rí àwọn nǹkan tó ń ṣe léraléra and ọtí Èkó ló ń ṣe sínsìn the painful part I'm from Lagos Island nílẹ̀ àwa tá a ṣe wà yìí àwa ò nílẹ̀ ilẹ̀ tó fẹ́ gbà gan àwa ò ní kánẹ́rì bí Ọ̀yọ́ ẹ̀yìn Ifẹ̀ kankan ilẹ̀ tẹ́ lọ lọ́dọ̀ yìí àwa ò ní ṣe omi ló ń dẹ everybody láàmú yìí ilé bíi mẹ́ta ta nílé kò developer la máa ń gbé fún ẹ máa wà tí randíran developer la máa gbé fún ṣé kí ló ń wá bọ̀ lọ́dọ̀ àkọ́ dúró lọ́dọ̀ ẹ̀yin tó yẹ pé wọ́n ti ẹ̀yìn gbá mi díẹ̀. Ẹ bẹ̀ wọ́n náà tó bá fẹ́ kí n máa wà múdù báyìí. Wọ́n dúró sọ́nà òkè lọ́hùn.
Okay, bo. Okay. Wọ́n lè dúró tòsí bí o. Wọ́n lè dúró sọ́nà ọ̀dọ̀ wa bẹ̀rẹ̀. Ọ̀nà ọ̀dọ̀ wa yẹn is Ifẹ̀ gan an sọ́ọ́ sìn pọ́n sọ pé wọ́n fẹ́ take over Ifẹ̀ wọ́n sọ pé àwọn làwọn nífẹ̀ẹ́ àwọn gbére. I mean, but really I don't know what I would do to just on fire.
dẹ̀ ti gba everybody nìyẹn o nǹkan tó mú òbí. Imagine àti bàbá 85 kan ni bàbá yẹn ṣe 85 years. Kí bàbá 85 years kó máa ṣe orí burúkú bí yẹn kó máa orí burúkú ló ń ṣe now. Yes orí burúkú ló ń ṣe ọ̀ lọ́ba kò ń ṣọba orí burúkú lọ́ba aládé ni mo ní sọ̀rọ̀ síbẹ̀ orí burúkú ló ń ṣe because ó ń ba ayé tiẹ̀ òun ó ti wà ń gẹ́ngẹ́ tó sàárè ló ń wò báyìí ń sìn ó dẹ̀ mú àwọn ọmọ tó ń jí ó dẹ̀ ń ba ayé wọn jẹ́ ẹ mọ̀ pé nǹkan tá a ṣe bè náà ṣe nìyẹn títí tó fi kú ó yẹ kó wò pé àwọn ti fẹ́ lọ sùn o kó dẹ̀ pé àwọn ọmọ wọn pé wèrè tá a ṣe yìí o ẹ jẹ́ kó mọ lórí ìran wa ò ká máa hand over fún yín o but ọ ń fa àwọn ọmọ yẹn bọ́yẹ ń lọ sàárè ọ tún gbélẹ̀ fún wọn wọn á tún lọ pò mí pọ̀ sórí burúkú kọ́ nìyẹn ẹ mọ nǹkan ancestral cause kò ń ṣe ègún ìdílé òun ṣe gbà tó bá lọ gbẹ́bọ sórí tàbí kinní kan àwọn bàbá kan ti wà orí burúkú tó máa pọ̀ sínú àwọn ọmọ wọn àwọn ọmọ yẹn náà máa gbórí burúkú yẹn jẹ ọ máa gbé fáwọn ọmọ wọn tó bá wáyé ọmọ tó bá bí pé ẹ mọ̀ pé ìgbàta kéré tá máa ń ṣe eré òṣùpá ńgbà yẹn àwọn ìyá wa máa ń pàlọ́ àwọn máa pàlọ́ àlọ́ tó máa pa fáwọn ọmọ yẹn tóun náà bá máa pọ̀ ọmọ ẹ̀ òun náà máa fi kún because ọ̀rọ̀ òkèrè tí ò bá dín ó máa ń lé ni ó máa fi kún máa ní my grandfather told mo mú nǹkan wá láti debunk nǹkan tá à ń sọ yìí ó máa ní my grandfather told me ọjọ́ kan afẹ́ bá kan ní debate a dẹ̀ pé a ti gbé ìwé lẹ̀ lórí TikTok ó ní pé oral history ni evidence tóun ní ó dẹ̀ bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí parọ́ jọ kò ní ìwé kò ní nǹkan kan ó kàn fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ ni nǹkan tí bàbá ẹ̀ sọ fún bóyá bí tó ti ń mẹ́mu ni o àbí bí tó ṣerú àwọn téèyàn fẹ́ bá sọ̀rọ̀ ni àwọn olórí burúkú ọba ayé wọn jẹ́ nìyà ẹ jẹ́ kí prof sọ̀rọ̀ ẹ kú jọ mẹ́ta ẹ máa ta ọmọ sọ fún ẹ ọmọ sọ fún yín lórí ìsà.
There was one guy like that. They said they wanted to have it. I mean, this was a time. I mean, it was a period where I used to have conversations. You know, I no longer do it. So they said I should. Somebody told me to come that they wanted to talk about Yoruba, you know, history. And this was maybe 2024 or so. So I went there, and then I was like, okay, according to this book, the guy said, no, just like what you said. He said, no. It's oral history he wants. And I said, okay. So he now said we want to go first. You don't got that, so also rubbish don't got that. So me now and it's important to protect your place, just like Omobeko is asking us to do, particularly those of us, regardless of where you are. And by the way, if you are Yoruba, I don't care if you are from Ondo State, Ekiti State, or your state, wherever you are. When they speak about Lagos, speak up, because it's not really a Lagos issue. I bet people are beginning to talk about other states right now, other southwestern states. And the reason is because, again, these people lack what you have. So they're going to start with, let's be friends, we're all united, we're all working, we're all brothers. It's a lie. It's a lie. It's a plan. So over time, Esma, you lose your guards and then, you know. But thank you very much for that submission. I mean, I was laughing for the most part, but everything you said, I mean, apart from the part where you were insulting people. But thank you very much for your submission, Omobeko. I don't think I'm going to go back to the book today, maybe next week. Let's listen to Prof, and then we'll close the session for today. Good evening, Prof. Eko Jometa.
Kábíyèsí, ẹ máa padà síwé yẹn o.
Ẹ gbọ́ wọn.
Èmi ń gbọ́ yín o. Can you hear me? Ṣé ẹ ń gbọ́ mi? Mo ti ń gbọ́ yín báyìí. Ìjọ ọmọ sàlẹ̀ kó ló jẹ́ kí n wá sílẹ̀ because.
Tẹ́ bá ti sọ ti tọ́ mo lè close. Àmọ̀ sọ̀rọ̀ kó tó wá dọjọ́ mi. Ẹ̀yin àgbààgbà lu.
Àwọn ló jẹ́ kí n wá sókè pé olúwa mi ẹ̀rọ.
Ojúbọ̀rọ̀ sí fọmọ ọlọ́wọ́ èkúrò àwọn lórí gbogbo èpè àti gbogbo àfọ̀ṣẹ́ gbogbo ẹ̀ làwọn máa bá wọn lò. Ọjọ́ ì máa nà wọ́n náà. Ṣé rí ẹ máa ń sọ nǹkan kan ẹ̀ ṣe rí báwo àtàǹkàwé àti kìíní tá à ń bá wọn ṣe tó ọ̀gbọ́ yìí. MC Olúọmọ tó ń sọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀ ó nice. Ṣé rí Sego nǹkan tó máa ṣe fún wọn mo ti sọ ọ́nsìn lé nìyí
ẹ jẹ́ kó di 2027 wọ́n máa sunkún gan o. àwọn kan wà wọn ò gbọ́n nǹkan kan wọn ò gbọ́n nǹkan kan wọ́n ti gé tí wọ́n lọ like bí.
ẹ̀rọ àfihàn lẹ̀ ṣe bí.
yẹ́ sì dìgbà yẹn ná kí nǹkan bẹ́ẹ̀ má ṣe la ṣe ń sọ̀rọ̀ ká má bàa irú nǹkan bẹ́ẹ̀ tó bá jẹ́ àgbọ̀ ìyẹn ó kó àwọn yòókù tó ń gbọ́ wa.
Abi. But Khaki, well done, though. Yes, I don't have much to say. Good job. As almost Aleko have said, I want to come to lay on that side. One on that Runi. Right? They keep saying, they are just annoying. I was there was a guy tomorrow replied on Twitter so he made a video. I don't even know him. Maybe his name does not sound.
Is that Jerry Wobodo?
Yeah. Okay. I'm able to respond to it to Claire. That Jerry Wobodo, we can laugh about it. I was reading. Oh, you have now. No, interview drum yẹn tọ́bìrì lọ́wọ́ Ziki pé báwo ló ṣe describe Ojukwu only Hitler is kidney con combined together. So yeah, that's how So he said he's a very good student of Hitler. I remember that other article, not that answer to it, that the person was also talking about how Biafra, was based on a lot of Nazi ideology, right? So when someone like Jerry is saying that, you should be able to have off moment. I think it's something he is kind of used to, that they say regularly, right? It's something they say regularly, right? So was surprising. But the issue to what almost Aleko is saying, how do people even choose who to follow? You but don't describe Yensin. You're not the hero in Nigeria, right? How do you decide? Buy, you follow. There's one of the other guys not to post the video, but you had none. But I be almost south, but was sympathetic Southeast, sorry, Tinubu Yoruba, and he was talking about Shemo, that preaching Pastor Bakare, where he was talking about Balewa,
Mori replying, Mori replying.
Because they thought Pastor Bakare fabricated it. It's not a fabrication. It's actually an account of a guy, and the testimony was given in September 66. We can discuss whether we believe it or not, but that's an account, right? And that was from DJM Moffat. And then, apart from Moffat, John Padden also,
Is it in Let the Truth Be Told?
Let Truth Be Told, yeah. John Padden to also have it in his book on Bello. So at least two authors we know, and they belong to that era, talked about it. So the way, but Uncle Mama dive into, like you said, appealing to people to, what you are saying now is the voice of John the Baptist, who is the precursor. Sorry, how much to holiday? Like, oh my God, can you guys take it easy?
No, it's okay, Baba. No, wow. I've never seen my battery. I'm boy.
So the other thing I also want to point out in case Bobo Adeni, honestly, that case is there's still a lot of things to unravel there. I still feel the story is not hard enough. That story is not hard enough. There's something somewhere. There are too many control failures. Up to him opening an account at CBN, though it was not funded. those control failures are just too much to be coincidental without there being any form of collusion, someone helping him or something like that, right? So I still think I don't think it's something that they should sweep under the carpet. It should be, brought out. But it relates to that. There was one time you were talking about Mongolia and also Chinese system, where in their hierarchy, intellectuals, right, thinkers are more valued than merchants, right, or traders, right?
Than farmers. Then
Not even farmers next, but when
Farmers
you
are
respect
even
farmers,
better.
traders.
Farmers are number two. Traders is the one side of water.
So when you look at it, you will see it's the same thing, right? Because when you look at the traditional Yoruba days of the week, it's the days of intellectuals, because our babalawos those are the intellectuals of that time, and we named them.
Absolutely.
We didn't name them after food or market days. We named them Ojo Ogun, Ojo this. It shows you that these are people that have gone beyond subsistence level. Right? It's a society that value intellectuals. Our society values intellectuals. You go to the other way, it's a different thing. It's at subsistence level. AK market day, Kinikon market day, Kinikon society of traders near, right? And society of traders, in my journey, there's nothing about whether self-actualization or pride, or shame, right? Bringing shame. No, as long as you have money, you are someone that is elevated in the society. So that's the problem we are facing now, because when you start seeing this kind of Adini and co, our problem Nigeria, and these things are now becoming normal to us, right? It's shameful, right, that it's happening, and that someone can sit down, and do that. So I think, we need to, return to that period. We shouldn't just be thinking about, we're at a very high level. We shouldn't retrogress and be people that think of for market day, poor market day. Okay, no. That's not an advanced civilization, right? You are an advanced civilization of people that value intellectuals, and for you to get there, you'll be people of character, right? I think that's one of the things we need to remind ourselves. Eshingo.
Prof, thank you so much for that submission. I have to clap. And I clapped because, so when I had that conversation, I was very careful not to use Yoruba as a yardstick, because, you know what it is. You are using somebody, you are saying that you're better. Actually, it is what it is. I said to use Chinese. But then the way you came in with that comparison with what we have in our space when it comes to intellectuals is actually very, very brilliant. And I also think that many of us need to, when studying Yoruba history, and hopefully, at some point we'll have more sessions like we used to have on such matters. We will be able to understand. Look at our history, or look at our forebears, from a philosophical standpoint, so that we're able to actually derive more, say, like the total value of who they represented, or what they represented beyond, certain boxes that we placed them. They were intellectuals. They were the ones who advised kings. They were the ones who, beyond just divining, they were seen as wise men. And we will have, such conversations. We're going to delve deeper into matters like that. Before we go, we're going to leave right now because it's almost 8 o'clock, and I want to be closing around 8. But before we go, there was something Prof mentioned. We'll talk about it in depth some other time. The book he also mentioned. Thank you, Prof. We'll also talk about, the book. It was, maybe we should not do it today. Maybe I should just come. We'll have a session on it. where Tunde said that, Tafawa Balewa cursed Igbos. And then let's have a session. So we'll play what Tunde said. Then we'll read the books he mentioned. And let truth be told, it's actually a very, very simple. I've not read it here before, but it's a book that looked at Nigerian history from the perspective of the North, even though it was written by, an outsider. Thank you so much, Tidan. Thanks a lot. So even though it was written by, I think it was a British man, Moffat, but he was writing from the perspective. American, okay, American. Thank you, sir. Yeah. So, but he had an association with he essentially looking at Nigeria from perspective of the North. But I think it would be a very good read. So read those portions, and then we'll listen.
It was a district officer at Numan in Adamawa for a long time. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, sure. Meanwhile, video test why motive video me response in but more video any So maybe we'll do a session on it maybe on Monday. Monday will be a good day. Let's have Ufarabale to do it. All right. Okay. So yesterday we began the conversation about indigeneity and Yoruba people in the North, and we talked about some things and how, as at 1900, you already had Yoruba people in the West African Frontier Force. We talked about how when they were, putting together what became the police in the North. Had about 240 outside. Had about 217 Yoruba way back then. We talked about some Yoruba even being made kings in some districts in the North, of course by British colonial officer, right, including Tekina, and we also talked about how the Yoruba people who were leading, areas in Mina as early as far back as 1939. It was Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida who said that by 1910, the Yorubas in Mina were about 11, just a bit over 11% in Mina of the population of Mina. The house was about 30, and then the Gwaris were actually less, just a bit over 5%, and then you had Inupe who were, I think, about 15% or so. Just gives you an idea how long Yoruba people have been interacting with people in the North. We also talked about how when the British colonial government decided to introduce the concept of Sabongeri starting around 1911, in order to create demarcation or like segregation between the host community and the settlers. While they were trying to implement that, it did not work for the Yoruba people living in the North because the Northerners preferred them to be with them because they were already together over time, such that by the time the dust settled, the Sabongeri was populated also by Hausa people in Hausa land. We mentioned what happened in Kano and also what happened in Zaria. I want to go deeper, but I don't want to rush it, so we're going to continue from there. Maybe after responding to this particular clip on Monday, or we shall find a way to continue that particular document. It's a brilliant piece of work, and I think it's something that we should all read together. So we'll continue from there and we'll take it step by step. All right? Give me a second. Let me check if it's something I can finish today. If I can, then I'll probably just do it. If not, then I'll make it Monday. 1 second, please. I want to thank everybody who came up and those who gave gifts. Tidan, especially that a number of times. Thank you so much for your generosity. Everybody who typed, who commented, your heart means your roses. Even if I don't mention your name, every single thing you gave, every single gift you gave, means a lot. Thank you so much for your support. All right. So the paper is Approaching the Study of Yoruba Diaspora in Northern Nigeria in the 20th Century by Rashid Olaniyi. You know what? Let's continue. We'll take a bit of it, and then wherever we stop, we stop. I want to make sure that we're not having just news. So even if it's just 30 minutes, I think I can stay for 30 more minutes. But I want to thank everybody who came up. Professor Remi, thank you so much for your submission. It was perfect, beautiful. My battlefield, thank you, sir. And almost Aleko. Almost Aleko came with the fire. So let's try and read a bit more in the document I referred to earlier. Again, it's Approaching the Study of Yoruba Diaspora in Northern Nigeria in the 20th Century, published by IFRA. That's the French Institute for Research in Africa. And it's something that we're doing because we want to try and understand beyond the rhetoric, beyond the news where people are trying to force brotherhood. And once we've discovered over time that this whole idea is a product of scarcity. In other words, what you call unity is actually scarcity in motion. All right. It was Maji Paramo said in 1960, October 20 listener issue of listener, that I'll take it again so you don't get the wrong idea. So there was a document that was published in 1960, 20th October 1960. It's called The Listener. Maji Param wrote in there that is a particular part of Nigeria needed unity, and they still do need unity. And he said it was because they poured out of the overcrowded forest in search of work and opportunities in other parts of Nigeria, right? And so she said they need unity. And so you hear things like we are brothers, we are together, we are clinical, and like we don't even really know each other like that. It's just like about 100 years we've been together. With the Hausa, for instance, on the other hand, it's been much longer than that. According to this report, which we read part of it yesterday, by the time the British arrived in Nigeria and started colonization enterprise, Hausas have been having connections with Yoruba or interactions with Yoruba for at least, not at most, at least 500 years. And the British incursion into Nigeria happened in the 19th century. The bombardment of Lagos was in 1851. The entire colonial enterprise began in 1861. Therefore, what they're saying basically is that in the 1300s, Hausas were already working or having relationship mostly through trade with Yoruba people. Of course, there are records of even older contact with other people, like the folks in Mali in Songhai Empire, whether in the 11th century, in the 10th century, and even as far back as the 5th century. You read a document called "What's in the Name Yoruba" by Professor Banji Akintoye, where he mentioned the trade contact that Yoruba people were having with folks in Mali as far back as the 5th century, 5th to 6th century, right? And again, I remember that because I always put that together, or put that side by side with the birth of Prophet Muhammad, who was born in the 7th century. All right, so that means even that trade contact began before the birth of the Prophet. So it tells you that we've had relationships with people in different parts of Africa, right? And we also had trade contacts with certain people with Malians who also eventually took our products like the glass beads of Ife to as far away as the Mediterranean. And so the idea that people are trying to form brotherhood with Yoruba people and it's becoming too forceful, right? It's more like you must be my friend. We have to start asking questions like Sheko Sin coming, but because we have people with whom we've had relationship for 500 years, for 700 years. So for the Ulster, for instance, really think about this is 21st century, right? That would be like at least 700 years contact. All right, you don't hear any people shouting, "We are brothers. We must have your land." So when people are coming around and saying that we're brothers, it's better to remind ourselves that listen, maybe we're not brothers, because if we're brothers, you're not going to be using this kind of affinity as a basis for stealing. All right, and that's why we're reading this report, so that we understand what our own experience has also been as as settlers in other people's lands. Yes, we have had to welcome people. Like I say it all the time. Yoruba people have nobody to teach them about hospitality in Nigeria. And it's not because we cannot learn, it's because we are the teachers who tend to have more information on that particular matter. I mean, there are other things to learn from people. And even hospitality, you can still learn, but nobody can just come and say, we are going to teach you hospitality, particularly those who are not doing it as much as we have done. But that said, regardless of how much we have welcomed people, we have also become guests in other people's lands. We've been settlers in other people's lands. But there's a way we did it. Others have also been settlers in our land. It appears that it's only one ethnicity that just wants to be, when it comes to staying in Yoruba land. So we read some things yesterday, just to go over some of those things again, that outside people and Yoruba people have had relationship, that the Kanuri see Yoruba people, for instance, as cousins. As a matter of fact, in their myth of origin, Yoruba people did there. Now, that doesn't, again, it's myth. It's myth, okay? It doesn't mean that historically we are connected. It could be, but the point of myth is it explains something more than just what history is saying. It's talking about connections. And for you to have this kind of myth that has been perpetuated for so long tells you sometimes, I mean, in this particular instance, of the longevity of how long we've known each other. we also mentioned, yesterday that a lot of Yoruba people moved up north before British colonization, and they settled in different parts of the north. We talked about Yoruba merchants who traversed communities in North Nigeria before in the north, and we talked about how there are places in quarters in Kano, right, and Bida, where you have Yoruba people domiciled. So we talked about Angwa Ayagi in Kano and Lalemi quarters in Bida. Bida, by the way, is in Niger State. But here's the difference between what we did and what some people are trying to do in Yoruba land. We assimilated. Now, I've said it before that when it comes to acculturation, and I use a lot of sociological terms and anthropological terms, we're not trying to be unnecessarily deep. It's just that sometimes you have to use those words so that we all know where we're coming from. And then if you want to do further study, you can just type those words in, I don't know, Google, or it should bring you books. Please go beyond Google search, but at least that's a good way to begin. Anyway, when it comes to acculturation, there are many types, all right, but there are two main ones I want to talk about in our conversation. If we have a proper session on that, maybe we'll discuss the other types of acculturation. But there's assimilation and there's integration. Assimilation essentially is you jettisoning who you were before you got in here, and then you become part of the people here. All right? And people have done it across cultures in different centuries over time all over the world. Ancient cultures understand this. All right? People will move into a particular place and then they become a new people. Now, Yoruba people have done it in places as far away as Senegal. And believe it or not, Senegalese have also done it in Yoruba land. A very good example is one I mentioned the other day. There's a woman in Ibadan, very popular. I mean, she's Muslim. She preaches, she dawa, she tafsir. And she has a school. She's an Ibadan indigene. She's an Ibadan woman. But you see, her ancestry can actually be traced all the way to Senegal. Our great-great-grandfathers had moved into Ilorin and eventually into Iseyin before they were invited by Balogun Ogunmola to Ibadan. And the forefathers, the great-grandfathers, these people were, by the way, just in case you want to check, her name is Kaula, Mama Kaula. That's what she's known as. These were imams. Afars. Call them Afars, right? They were Muslim clerics. They were invited, right, by Balogun Ogunmola. So when they trace their ancestry, they can say Senegal, but they are not Senegalese. And they don't belong to any ethnicity in Senegal. Mama Kaula is a Yoruba woman today. What that means basically is a product of assimilation. People after settling, they do not consider themselves to be where they're coming from. It's like what Bible says in Hebrews, that Abraham was considering where for to a city was built and it was God. The point I'm trying to say is that they forsook all and became new people. And Yoruba also had other communities in Yoruba land who have become part of us. And one of the reasons I'm also doing this is because while I understand the push for conservatism among Yoruba people, I also think that the extremes can be as dangerous as what people are pushing against. When I begin to hear words like pure blood, tainted blood. The first time I heard tainted blood in my life was on social media. Interestingly, it was not from Yoruba. It was from a culture where certain people are marked because of their station in life. Where, for instance, there is no social mobility. So if you were a slave and there were slaves, by the way, slavery is not a problem. It's a problem, but it's not like it's peculiar to a particular culture. It's a human problem. Okay? So this is not a jab, just to be clear. But in this particular culture, certain people were slaves. Some of them would be secret slaves. Some of them were secular slaves. However, their generations will always be slaves. So the next generation will be slaves, just like the previous one, right? And they'll call those people tainted, like their blood is tainted, because sometimes they use words like they belong to the gods or things like that. Now, here's the truth. I'm Yoruba. We also have slaves. We had slaves in Yoruba land. The difference, though, is just that there was social mobility. In other words, a slave can become something else over time. So we have words like Omorile Doba. All right. So the child of a slave can become king. Sometimes valor could actually change your story. Sometimes, even after a while, you can also move up the social ladder and become free. Okay. And that's why even though, of course, people will treat their slaves differently, you still have sayings like Onolojin Eruni Baba. In other words, no matter how far away this person is from home, he has a home, even though he's a slave. So it gives you an idea that there is an opportunity to move up the social ladder in Yoruba society. Now, the people who use the word tainted blood were people who condemned certain people in their societies to perpetual servitude. And by the way, and I'm going to say this in passing without going deep, when the British arrived, believe it or not, in that society, the first set of educated people were the slaves. And that's why when you read, if I mention the book, you will know the people I'm talking about, which is not a problem, but I don't want to talk about any group yet. There's a book by Bukwe, I've read it here before, where he said that although colonization itself was a dehumanizing act, it actually gave these slaves the opportunity they required to be able to escape the inhuman conditions they were subjected to by their own people. Having said that, when you begin to hear conversations these days and people say things like you're a tainted blood, somebody is a mixed blood, you begin to wonder, you're using rhetorics of people who consider certain people to be permanently condemned to servitude, and it still occurs in their society today. And at this point, I'm going to make it very clear. I'm talking about Osu and Oru. If you're Osu, you are condemned to be that. If you're Oru, you are condemned to be that. Now, I'm not here to tell them that it's wrong or that it is right. Of course, it's not right, but I'm not saying it's wrong. Whatever they want to do is their cultural issue. However, you cannot use words that they are using for such people, for people in Yoruba land, just because they are quote-unquote mixed. You soon discover in Yoruba land that regardless of your station, or even regardless of your status, or even your birth, right, your genealogy and ancestry, in Yoruba community, you can be called a bastard, even though they know your father, your mother. Because at that particular level, your legitimacy as a part of society is beyond ancestry, is based on character. So, even though they know your father and your mother. Therefore, you can have people whose father and mothers you can see and say, oh, they are this one, 10 generation Yoruba, 16 generation Yoruba, and Yoruba people will still look at the person and say, all of that to say that when we have such conversations, we have to remember that the idea of purity is a dangerous thing when it comes to conservatism, when it comes to movement, when it comes to ideologies, particularly in a space like our own. You can't do that in a space like ours. There are people, and you'd be shocked that some people that are very passionate about this thing, go back just a bit, you might find some mix. I'm not mixed, by the way. I'm not. But if I were, that wouldn't be a problem, right? But we're doing all of this so that we can all understand that a lot of things have happened. And some people that are at the forefront fighting for Yoruba causes, some of them, you can go back and call that this person's grandfather was from this ethnicity. He's not even originally, the grandfather was not originally Yoruba, but this particular person is originally Yoruba. An example I gave yesterday is a woman who did fantastic work that I think is quite definitive when it comes to, or understanding Oromila and his philosophy. Her name was Sophie Luwole, and I mentioned that she was born in the Baroque, right? Her surname was Aloba. Her father's name was Aloba, so her surname was Aloba, but her grandfather's surname was Egareva because the grandfather was from Benin, but they are settled and become. So the point is, assimilation means that you jettison everything, you become a part of the new community. Therefore, they see you as one of them. All right, and that is something that some Nigerians in 21st century want to use constitution to bypass and say we are joining Luni. Secondly, I was talking about culturation. There's assimilation, there's integration. Integration means that you still hold on to some of to your own culture, like Yoruba people did in many instances in the north. They were Yoruba. They were not ashamed of it. They held on to their culture. They named their children Yoruba, gave their children Yoruba names. They did not lose who they were. Some lost what they were as Yoruba people, but they entered into Hausa culture, and there's nothing wrong essentially with that, because that happened to other people in our own society as well. But some people held on to the Yoruba identity and then added the culture of the host community to theirs, so that they are seen as Yoruba, but they are not seen as strangers. You know, there are people that can live in your land, if you like, they should live for 30 years, they'll still be considered strangers. There's no connection with the land. There's no devotion to the land. There is no investment beyond money. Investment is emotion. Not that I have money planted somewhere, because especially if the money is even from legal means, it should not mean so much. You are not, okay, that's the word, you are not invested in the place. There's no connection. All right. People who have integrated, even if they don't assimilate, they have integrated, they have that connection with the land. That people they call Ara. In Yoruba land, we call them Ara. So the word is actually Ara. I just said Ara, as you can fill in the gap. Ara Bad. You can see ẹlòmíì ló pé ẹni tó ń bá sọ̀rọ̀ gan lè jẹ́ pé kò ń ṣọmọ ìlú yẹn, wọ́n lè pẹ̀lú ara ìlú yẹn, ó lè má jẹ́ Yorùbá rárá gan. Okay, wọ́n á pẹ̀lú ara abẹ yẹn because ó ti wà bẹ́ẹ̀, you know. Everyone gbọ́ àwọn kan náà pé ìyá ìbò tó ń sọ yẹn ó lè gbọ́ Yorùbá ju everybody lọ, but and there are people like that, just to be clear. There are Iya Igbos, these are Igbo women who live in Yoruba land who have integrated into the culture and they've become part of, they are still holding on to where they are from, whatever, but they're not looking down on the land. They are connected in that way, but you just know where they are from. Some of them, you know, can still speak their native language, but they can speak your own language just like that. And it's not just about the language, it's about the attitude towards the space. Somebody mentioned the Zat family. There are Lebanese people as well who have integrated so well, right, in part of, as a matter of fact, you know, we had a conversation a while back when somebody was talking about the wife of the former governor of Oyo State, Madam Florence Ajimobi. The person was talking about whether she was Nigerian. I said she was Nigerian. Not just will I say she's a Nigerian, I would boldly say that she's Yoruba. And I know exactly the import of my statement. Her father was Lebanese. The mother was from Delta State. She is Yoruba. The process that thing went through is what people should actually pay attention to if we're going to have conversations beyond, you know, this street level pedestrian thing where like I hate you, you hate me. No, beyond that, you understand how complex society can be. But here's the thing: just because it can be like that does not mean it will always be like that for everybody. And that's where the society holds on to their own autonomy and agency to determine who becomes what. You don't tell us what you want to become in our land. We tell you if you can and if you eventually become that thing. This introduction is going to be as long as the time that I thought I was going to use to read this thing, but it is well. We're just going to repeat some of those things we talked about yesterday, and then we'll continue from there on Monday. So we mentioned that Yoruba people were used eventually during British colonization. The British used Yoruba people in the north. Interestingly, they also used Hausa people in Yoruba land. We mentioned that Yoruba people were used as commercial agents. In some cases, they were even used as spies for the British government. As I was saying that, I was also stating that when you read about the Magbon War, or what's also called the Anglo-Ijebu Wars of 1892, you also see the role the Hausa played. And it's not because they are bad people. It's because that's what the British did. They divided people. They divide and rule. Such that by the time you get to 1900, when Lugard took over the government of Nigeria, with a transfer, by the way, was essentially sold. Nigeria was, they exchanged money. That's between the British government and the Royal Niger Company. When Lugard took over, he had the constabulary of the Royal Niger Company absorbed into what was called the West African Frontier Force, which eventually morphed into what we now call the Nigerian Army. At that time, that force was dominated by the Hausa and the Yoruba. And so by 1908, the entire force, which would become the Nigerian army eventually, the entire force was made up of 240 Hausa people, but had about 216 Yoruba. This was in 1908. This force was formed in 1898, and Yoruba were there. Okay? By 102 Beriberi, 53 Fulani, 25 Nupe, and 54 others. And this was in 1908. I also mentioned that by 1910, if you read the book I mentioned earlier, Journey in Service, by the former president Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, he mentioned that by 1910, Yoruba people had become over 11% of the Mina community. I just quickly read that. Something tells me I'm going to repeat this thing next week, but I don't mind, if you don't mind. 1 second, please. So it's Mina had become such a growing metropolis that the 1910 census of the town showed that Mina had a population of more non-indigenous than indigenous, as early as the period under review, with the following figures. Gwari, which we consider majorly the indigenous people, they were 5% of Mina. Nupe was 17.7%. Hausa Fulani was 31.1%. The Yoruba were 11.9%, just about 12%. And others were 34.3%. This was in 1910. Fast forward to 1939, where the British colonial government decided to divide the district into 6 wards, right? They're trying to divide the town of Mina itself into 6 wards, right? And each of the wards they're going to have overseers who will be paid salaries by the British colonial government. And by 1939, 2 of the 6 wards in Mina were headed by Yoruba people. This was in 1939. This was not because people were carrying pickets and carrying placards and shouting, "We no go agree, we have rights." It was because, number one, you had the British doing what they were doing. You also had the thing where the people themselves had insulated themselves into the society rather than isolate themselves and see the people, the host community, as the others. So that's from Badamasi Babangida's book, Journey in Service. Back to the main document we're reading. He also mentioned here that in Kano, by 1914, the government police were composed entirely of Yoruba ethnic group. The funny thing about it is that you never hear people say that Yoruba were going to dominate them. You also had a major, the majority, the bulk, let me use that word, the bulk of police that you find in Lagos at a particular time in the 19th century, in the early 20th century, many of them were Hausa. Because, of course, it helped, like I said earlier, with divide and rule. Why do they do that, right? The police, which is sadly what you see with Nigerian police force, which is why we need state police. You see, this thing has been going on for a very, very long time. So the thing is, if I take you as a stranger to another person's land where I've colonized, you cannot work with that person because you don't know that person. Your loyalty will be to me as your boss who is paying your salary. That's what the British colonial government did. So they take people to another place, you police the people, you don't really care about them as such. You care about your boss, and if he's happy with what you're doing, as long as he's happy, you're good. So they did that, the British colonial government. Also, we read that some of the Yoruba who served in the British Army were even given administrative positions in northern Nigeria. Some of them even became leaders of different divisions. For example, in Tivland, Audu Danafonja, who was from Ilorin, a Yoruba Muslim, became the chief of Makurdi between 1914 and 1947. Now, this one was not due to assimilation or anything or integration, it was due to colonial powers. So we can't really take credit for that. All right. Also, by 1912, the Baroque-Kano Railway was completed, and that completion marked a turning point in Yoruba migration to northern Nigeria. So from the northern Yoruba towns such as Kaba, Ijomu, Isanlu, Ofa, and Ilorin, people migrated to Kaduna between 1916 and 1917. There were waves of migration between that particular period of time. And then after the First World War, more Yoruba people, especially from Ogbomoso, Ilorin, and Kaba, migrated to Kaduna in an attempt to participate in the booming commerce about which they had received information from their family and social networks. Let me just pause to say something, that when these people moved, they were not going to develop the North. The Ogbomoso man who went to Kaduna did not go to Kaduna to develop Kaduna. I mentioned yesterday that when 1910 was when Chief SLA was born. SLA Chief Samadala Kakitola was born in Mina. Was born in that area. Sha had a fantastic command of Hausa. When his father was going there, he was not going there to develop Mina. It's only people who are incapable of developing their homes who claim to develop other people's land. People always go to places because of opportunities, and there's nothing wrong with that. All right, so let's not be inferior. Let's have sense. Where were we? So they were moving to the north to participate in the booming commerce. And then from Funtua, Nguru, Makurdi, Malamadori to Jos, Yoruba diaspora communities were established along the rail lines, taking advantage of modern communication for foodstuff, livestock, groundnuts, and kola nut trade. By the 1920s, the scarcity of Hausa clerical staff made the British employ Southerners in the administration of northern Nigeria. Okay, I mean, that goes without saying. I'll say one more thing before we close for today. We said that by the 1930s, the Jos market was dominated by Ogbomoso merchant families, such as Aladire, Ayetoro, Odefara, Mafoni, Banki, Onilu, Araromi, Magajiya, Takpa, Idowoke, Idowusale, and Sabo, which developed to reflect the identity of the new traders and their cultural background. All of this, there was already colonial rule. So it says, nevertheless, colonial rule created distortions in ethnic relations whose consequences still prevail. And that's why I was talking about the segregation thing. So we're going to end with that one, where the British were trying to essentially do what you find in apartheid South Africa or in Jim Crow in the South, the Jim Crow South of the United States, where you had segregation. So what they wanted to do was to segregate the host from these migrants who are coming in. But while it worked for some people much later, and it's still working for certain individuals in Nigeria today, if you go to Sabongeri today, different Nigerian people are there. What you probably would not notice is that where you think only indigenous stay, the Yoruba people have been there for generations. And I'll just read this one before we go. It says here, the establishment of Sabongeri between 1911 and 1913 was a central thrust of the British divide and rule system, constructed to make colonial rule flourish on ethnic division and the enforcement of segregation. In the colonial era, Yoruba immigrants in North Nigeria were British protected persons and the hosts were subjects. In the post-independence period, the citizenship status was reversed in favor of the host communities who were regarded as indigenes. When the British were around, they saw the host communities, in other words, say you are Yoruba, you are moving to the north, you are protected. The Northerners are seen as the host communities, but they are seen as the subjects of the British. But you are a protected person. Although after independence, the protection then went to the original owners of land, as it should be. Again, the British were not doing this thing because they loved anybody. They were just trying to, be clever by half. But it worked, apparently. In the post-independence period, the citizenship status was reversed in favor of the host communities who were regarded as indigenous and migrants as non-indigenous or settlers. The attempt by the British to segregate the Yoruba, this is where I'm going. The attempt by the British to segregate the Yoruba from the indigenes failed in Kano and Zaria due to historical relationships that had existed between them before the British conquest. In Kano, despite restrictions, the Yoruba Muslims continued to live within the native reservation area, that's Kano Old City, while some Hausa lived in Sabongeri. For the Yoruba and Hausa, the colonial segregation was ineffective due to historical relations that had existed between the two groups for no less than 500 years before British rule. The idea of segregation was in some ways resisted by the two ethnic groups. For example, the establishment of the townships of Sabongeri created some problems for the British in Zaria. As early as 1915, the British found it difficult to keep out Emirate natives who were neither employees of the government nor European trading firms in the township area of Sabongeri. What you're saying basically is that they built Sabongeri for strangers, or people who were working for colonial government or working for some of these multinational firms, so they will stay away from the natives. But it's called that natives were also trying to live inside Sabongeri. That's what they're trying to say basically. In Kano, despite British insistence, Yoruba Muslims were allowed by the emir to either live in the native area or in Sabongeri. By now, showed that there were 1,903 Hausa residents in Sabongeri, as against 1,547 Yoruba. This was 1937. Though. This was around the time that Igbos began to come to Yoruba land, just to be clear. They started coming in mostly early 30s. By 1936, they began to organize Igbo Union in Calabar in Lagos. At this time, Europe were already so many in the north. But we don't have right of indigence, and we should not, by the way, because, we have sense. So it says by 1937, the population statistics of Kano Township showed that there were 1,103 Hausa residents in Sabongeri, as against 1,547 Yoruba. By 1938, there was 2,040 Hausa, that's 26% of the population in Sabongeri, Kano. In 1939, the population of the Hausa in Sabongeri, Kaduna was 1,568, while Yoruba population was 1,093. I'm going to continue from here on Monday, and want to understand more. I want to understand the relationship between these two cultures. Here's what I believe. I was having a conversation with someone today. If I mention his name, you will know him. We're talking about Awo's insistence on working with the East, and I said it was because he thought that, the primary reason Awo had the problem with the North was feudalism. But interestingly, the feudalism was not even a concept that was introduced by the Hausa. It came with the Fulani. But in reality, if you really think about it, even that is not a disadvantage if you really think about it. Because Okeriopo, they understand governance. It's a bit different from those who just move around and tell people that we want to be part of you by force. That would not work. But I hope that this helps us to appreciate our relationship with other people in Nigeria, and also see how, by the time we get to some part of this document, we'll do that on Monday. You see how certain people got to the point where the politicians in the North were telling them, Yoruba people, that you guys cannot be calling yourself Yoruba. You've been here for so long. It tells you that you can get to a point where the host community sees you as one of them, rather than you just keep shouting. If you're a Yoruba person, do not allow anybody who wants to boneburu, right, come in through the back door and say things like, I have rights. You don't have any rights that makes you the same status as the owners of the land. You have your rights as a citizen of Nigeria, but there is a level to it, and it's the same thing I will experience when I come to your place as well, which is cool. All right. Okay. Thank you very much for listening to this. We've had an interesting run this week, and we'll continue next week. We are still trying to get more people to, till September, we'll still be talking about this to submit thing. So please, if you're interested, please go to Redomi. No, not Redomi. Redomi is you'll find it on Redomi Global on Telegram, but apparently it appears that certain people don't use Telegram. So I'm going to put up a flyer so that you can join. But I want to do this before we do that. We do this once in a while, but it's very, very important because it helps us to keep having the live session. We do have these live sessions every weekday, right? Mondays to Fridays, 4 p.m. Ife time, West African time. But we're able to do a lot of things because of the support of some of you. So I want to ask that you support what we're doing by using the bank details on the screen. It does go a long way. People actually told me to be doing this, and I appreciate them, because some people said, they want to be part of what we're doing. They want to contribute any way they can. And so we said from time to time, we'll be sharing bank details. So I'm sharing these bank details so that if you want to support what we're doing, please go ahead and do so. While you're doing that, I'll then put up this flyer of 2 summits. All right. So 2 summit, Sheko confusing. Anyway, 2 summit is coming up. It's starting in September. The plan is to have physical meetings beyond these online sessions, and there we'll have master classes where we teach like we're doing here, but go a bit more in depth, and also have feedback, live feedback from everybody. And then we'll have our game show, which we've been talking about for a while now. We did it here, so we have a pilot. I'm going to put the link to that pilot on our Telegram channel, and I also put it on the Linktree page. All right, Ibo Jinodo says this project is our project. We will support. Thank you very much, Ibo Jinodo. Thank you, sir. So I want us to. I mean, we've been having a great time discussing online, but want to go offline, meet people, meet the folks, that can also meet others and spread it. So we'll be using the game format to have, like a fun way to have these conversations, right? About Nigerian politics, Nigerian history, Yoruba culture, and Yoruba history, right? So that will be starting in September, and it will be happening every month. Once we begin, by the grace of God, it will always be every month. Okay, so we'd like you to support, and there are different ways you can support. You can give, you can volunteer, you can host, and you can sponsor. All right. Someone says, once you have a first location, I'd like to support. To be honest, at this point, it's looking like we already have our own location, but you can support now so that you can help us have our location, because some of that location requires money. So we are identifying some places based on the volunteers and the location of the people that we're getting who want to be part of the project. All right. And it is possible, and let me also say this just in case, it is possible that the location, is, what's the word now? The plan for the location may be modified, but the important thing is that every month we will have to summit, and we'll have people to talk. You can, share your thoughts, and then we'll have the game show. The game show, of course, will then go online, and then people can be part of it. But I'm going to put the link to, I think it was, we have a gentleman here who did so well, and he won some money. We want to make it bigger so people get to win cash prizes and win gifts. Other gifts, books, and so on and so forth. So if you want to sponsor that, please feel free to reach out. I didn't show you that stuff. Please go to Linktree/Busui Oris. Right? You don't have to go to Telegram to do this. All you have to do is just, type that URL. Type that URL in your browser. Okay. So what that does is basically it takes you to a Linktree page. In fact, some things about me are there. So if you want to, my books, my stuff, some of those things are there. Okay. But what you find the forms. If you want to give, there's a form. You click on the link. It takes you to the form. You can fill it. It gets to me. If you want to volunteer, you do that. It gets back to me, back to us as a team. We'll go through it, and then host as well. Before the end of July, we're going to have meetings online first, and then physical meetings, and then we'll begin to prepare for the event. We'll start publicity in August, and then the event proper will start in September. And from that month, every month we'll be having it. There'll be drama and music and all kinds of things as time goes on. We'll be including new concepts. So please support, and I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Olowu says, I'll text you on Telegram. Oh, that would be lovely. I'll expect that. And if you use Telegram, please reach out to me at Busui Oris on Telegram. WhatsApp is going to be starting username stuff very soon. Ando. So you can reach out to me on Telegram, on WhatsApp as well at Busui Oris. So we can have conversations. All right. And if you want to, you can give money, you can volunteer, give your time and your skills, you can host, that means you're welcome in a particular place where you want us to be having the meetings, and we can talk about the modalities, and then you can also sponsor. So you have a business, you have a brand, please feel free to reach out. Thank you very much. All right, back to today's session. Again, if you want to support, please use the bank details on the screen. That actually helps us to come here every day. So what we're doing is we're having live sessions on a weekly basis, and they want to have physical sessions once a month. I think that's fair, right? And with your support. Okay, before we go, we're going to call it a dinner now, by the way. I want to thank everybody who came up to speak and those who also typed in the comment section. Thank you for your engagement. It was nice having you here. And so we're going to call it a day now. But before we go, I'd like to play the anthems, the Nigerian anthem and the Yoruba anthem. Yes, I thank people. Did I thank people that gave gifts earlier? Yeah, I did. But I want to thank you again. Thank you for your gifts. Thank you for your generosity. I saw the heart meals and the roses and I saw one thing called coral. I'm seeing some nice gifts. Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's have the anthems and then we'll call it a day. Sorry, YouTube. I think we just went after Omobeko came up, everything just went to the left. But was good left. Okay, so let's have I'm trying to see if there's any comments so that I read some of the comments before we go. I like to have those things read. Let me check this device. I can't see it's from this one. There's something up. Something's up with this stuff. Anyway, thank you very much for being here. Let's have the Nigerian anthem and then we'll play the Yoruba anthem. Eshio, please sing along. It's our country after all.
Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. Though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigerians all are proud to serve our sovereign motherland. Our flag shall be your symbol, that truth and justice reign. In peace or battle honored, and this we count as gain. To hand unto our children a banner without slain. O God of all creation, grant this our only cause. Help us to build a nation where no man is oppressed. And so with peace and plenty, Nigeria may be blessed. Nigeria may be Adire,
Yorùbá ní ìmọ́lẹ̀ ògo adúláwọ̀ ìmọ́lẹ̀ wò ní wọ́kùn lágbára Ọlọ́run. Ilẹ̀ Yorùbá ò ní bàjẹ́ ọ̀ Nàìjíríà náà ò ní dàrú. Ilé ìwọ náà wọ̀ ní bàjẹ́. Nǹkan tí ó bá nílò àtúntò Ọlọ́run bá àtúntò. Á dáa fún wa o. Á rí bá ti ṣe o. Á rọ̀ náà gbégbá o. Ilé onílé wa ọ̀nà ní náà wà lágbára Ọlọ́run. God bless you. God bless your family. And thank you very much for that prayer, my battlefield. God bless you too, sir. May God bless you. May God bless your family. God bless the work of your hands. God bless Nigeria, our country, and Yoruba land, our nation. Thanks so much for being part of today's session. And this week's session has been fantastic. But I'll see you again after this beautiful weekend. So have a wonderful weekend. See you on Monday at 4 p.m. if you're time, West African time. God bless you. Odaro. Bye-bye. Ẹ ṣeun, sir.